This is TWIS, This Week in Science, episode number 599, recorded on Wednesday, December 28th, 2016. It's the top 11 of 2016. Hey everyone, I am Dr. Kiki, and tonight on TWIS, we are going to fill your heads with a countdown. But first...
Disclaimer, disclaimer, disclaimer. You can't be everywhere at once. And while this may be true for you, it is not true for science. Science is everywhere at once throughout all time. How is this possible? Is science a time-traveling faster-than-light superhero bending the laws of physics to her will and whimsy? No! Is a time-traveling faster-than-light superhero bending the laws of physics to her whim and whimsy? She'd damn sure be using science to do it. Science begins with that most human of all human traits, observation. We watch a thing. We try to figure it out. Maybe that thing is another human, so we watch them. Maybe we watch them try to figure something out. Maybe that thing we watch them try to figure out is dangerous, like the best way to fell a mastodon, or what poison berries taste like, or what fire tastes like. Maybe we watch them try and fail to figure something out. And in our observing, we learn something about the world, what we can or what we cannot do. And therefore, science and potential discoveries are everywhere all the time. There are some that stand out more than others. And that's why we've hastily put together for you the top 11 news stories of 2016 for This Week in Science. Coming up next.
I've got the kind of mind I can't get enough. I want to learn everything. I want to fill it all up with new discoveries that happen every day of the week. There's only one place to go to find the knowledge I seek. I want to know what's happening. What's happening? What's happening this week in science? What's happening? What's happening? What's happening this week in science?
Good science to Kiki and Blair.
And a good science to you, Justin, Blair, and everyone out there. Welcome to another episode of This Week in Science. This is our year-end review episode. 599, no less.
Oh, my goodness.
We are
So you mean we're
about-
making our pre-distitations? I made that word up. We're making our prediction
Wow.
in episode 600. Is that right?
That's right. Episode 600 is going to be our predictions show.
How fitting.
It is. The numbers line up very nicely. Synchronicity or not? Anyway, yeah. Next show, we're going to be joined by guest Amy Webb, futurist and predictor person. And she's going to help us understand what it's like to really do predictions for a living. But so I thought that would be fun for our prediction show. But you know what this show is? This
is the top 11 countdown show.
It is. It's our
2016
countdown.
TWIS recap.
And what do we do in our countdown show? It's not the top 5.
No,
No, that's not enough.
10.
No, that's definitely not enough.
Is a top 10 list, but we decided to give 110% to it. And that's how we got one more. It's one more science recap than you would get anywhere else.
That's
It's
right.
one
11.
more science-y.
That's right. We got to go to 11. We got to take the
one
science to 11. Mm-hmm.
We've kind of, over the years, gone to top 11 categories of science.
Yes. So each number has then swelled.
Other
Flattering.
stories in it. Yeah. It's not just single stories, but sort of genres of stories or groupings of stories or disciplines of science that were very, very important in the year.
Because there's so much that's so good. Oh my gosh. Whittling it down is nigh on impossible.
Yes, and so we decided not to try. Good night, everybody.
We'll see you next year.
No, but it was really fun putting it all together into what we thought was the priority of things, where we think these stories or these categories really fall within the importance of 2016. Also important for 2016, we still have calendars left. You can go to TWIS.org to get information about calendars if you are interested in having one for 2017. Wonderful calendars made by Blair. And we're going to be in San Francisco at the SF Sketchfest in 2017 on January 19th. So go to Facebook, our Facebook page, facebook.com/thisweekinscience, to find out information about that. Okay, that's done.
So what is the story? This is actually in some ways the most important story of the top 11, because it is the story that if we didn't go to 11, we wouldn't have been talking about.
I know. We got to take it to 11. So what's 11? Are we going to start there? It's time to begin.
Yeah.
Let's do this.
Number 11.
There we go. Thank you very much for the reverb. Zika. Zika sits at number 11. And the reason we kind of put it out there, the outlier of the top 10, is because it was an important story this year. It gained international importance. It was made a disease of international importance by the World Health Organization this year. And this is the year that we saw lots of understanding about how Zika how Zika interacts with the human body, how it gets into the developing brain, what molecules are important for Zika getting a hold on the developing brain. We actually saw this year the studies that actually confirmed that Zika does get into the brain and cause microcephaly. So this is the year that there were these ideas floating around about Zika in 2015, but 2016 is really when this all kind of came to the fore. Also, creation of Zika vaccines.
Which is, I think, why I ended up on the 11. Because if this had managed to fester, swell, or become pandemic, it would have been a much bigger story. But the scientists really kicked its butt, like, right away.
We have been. I mean, it is almost a pandemic. I mean, it's been spreading among South American, Central American, and Southern United States. It's spread across the United States, not necessarily by mosquitoes, which is the vector for Zika, which we have learned, but by people who are carrying it into the United States from other countries. We've learned how terrible it is for pregnancy. So we've been able to warn pregnant women not to travel in countries where Zika is present. Even men who have partners with whom they would like to bear children are being told not to go because we found out that Zika hangs out in the sperm. So this year had a whole bunch of interesting stuff. Treatment-wise, though, a couple of clinical trials are going. We also saw an antibody that was successful in protecting pregnant female mice and their offspring from developing complications related to Zika infection. So the antibody might be useful as a therapeutic agent until a vaccine is widely available. So there's good news, there's bad news, because we're understanding this virus with a lot greater depth. But the good news is also coming because we are figuring out how to protect ourselves, how to genetically modify mosquitoes, all sorts of fun stuff like that, and also creating vaccines and antibodies for treatments. So good news, bad news, but Zika was definitely in the news.
Oh, yeah.
Let's move on. What's number
10?
10.
Space news. Space is really big. So it's kind of cheating to give space a top news story, but it was breaking news all over space. Kepler saw a supernova explode. Saw the shockwave breakout. Wow. Cassini mission exploring Saturn's moon Titan over several years, and a bunch of papers talking about the polar oceans. Right?
Yeah.
Do you know what else happened?
I don't know.
Juno. Orbiting around Jupiter. Getting lots of good information. Planet B, maybe. Maybe another. It's the closest star to the Earth has a maybe planet around it.
Yeah, Proxima B,
in
or is
the-
it a hashtag Proximab?
Proximab.
Right? Hashtag Proximab.
Oh
the
boy.
plan at B. So if stuff doesn't work out here, we know where destination 1 is at least.
Yeah, and then there were a couple of things that we were looking at also that were kind of things that aren't really proven, but are just kind of questions about stuff. So Planet 9 was talked about a lot.
Mhm,
You know,
mhm.
the whole Planet B is making me think about that. And then also Tabby Star. We talked a lot about different ideas about Tabby Star. We know it's not aliens, but we don't know what's going on with this interesting star, right?
So it's
we're just
probably
looking out there.
aliens, is what you're
It's
saying.
probably aliens.
It's probably
right?
aliens.
Mhm.
SpaceX, they launched a rocket and caught its booster.
I
That's
know.
like so awesome.
Yeah, and
That,
yeah.
and then we went to Pluto finally.
Oh yes,
did.
I got to use the word pluvian a bunch of times. Oh,
Pluvian. If nothing else, New Horizons allowed us to say pluvian on a
Yes, that's
number
right.
of occasions in 2016.
but we learned about pluvian mountains, and I think we learned about pluvian
Atmosphere.
atmosphere as well. Yes.
Yeah, and Ceres, the moon of Pluto.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And
then
the
there was also-
pluvian lakes. That's right. Yeah.
yeah, and then but not just SpaceX landing. Blue Origins flew and reused its booster rocket several times. I mean, SpaceX was exciting because it landed on a water platform,
That's pretty awesome.
which is pretty awesome. But I mean, Blue Origins, two companies that are flying reusable rockets into space. This is so great. They did have their down moments, but
Yeah,
it's all very
but
exciting.
that didn't happen in space. So
It did not happen in space. You're right.
Mhm.
Yeah. And then there's the but also in line with the Proxima B discovery, there's the breakthrough star shot that there's money to try and send a bunch of tiny space kites to Alpha Centauri.
shoot them with lasers.
Yeah, shoot them with lasers and maybe they'll go to Proximab.
Pew, pew.
Proximab.
Proximab. I really do like saying that. I just get excited. I mean, I don't know. Proximab.
You're just over there saying Proximab. I'm over here going pluvian.
And I'm saying number 9.
Oh, okay. Speaking of,
intelligence.
just saying words over and over, let's talk about intelligence. So we learned a lot of things are smarter than we previously thought this year. That's a pretty much a running theme in a lot of the show, and especially in Blair's Animal Corner. We found out that apes understand that people's expectations and people's vision of reality is not always accurate. My favorite part of that experiment was it involved a human in a King Kong outfit. We found out that cuttlefish can count, or rather they can approximate differences in amounts, and they can also have a preference dependent on their state. If they're hungry, they'll want bigger shrimp. If they're less hungry, they'll want more smaller shrimp.
Yeah. Can I also say the ape story?
Yeah.
I mean, not just the false belief kind of thing, but this really pushed at the idea that apes have what's this theory of mind, which is supposed to only be
absolutely.
humans, or it has
Right.
that's been forever, But,
Yeah,
oh my
and
gosh.
especially the more we know about that, that's actually something that's directly affected by autism spectrum disorder. So the
Mhm.
more we can figure out this theory of mind and where it is in the brain and what causes it to trigger and all these kinds of things, there's a lot of benefits to humans from that as well.
Yeah.
But it's definitely, once again, something we thought was strictly human. Oh, look, apes can do it, turns out. Yes, the cuttlefish can count. We
Apes
also...
do it. Monkeys do it.
We all do it.
Cuttlefish
Capuchin monkeys, for example, make tools very similar to hominids. They were found making tools. It was
Right.
difficult to say whether it was accidental or as a byproduct of a behavior they did to get to food, or if they were actually particularly making these tools, but it was happening time and time again. And they were similar to tools that we find in old hominid areas with fossil evidence as well. So that was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Another human behavior, we found generosity or prosocial behavior in magpies, a bird that people often think is vicious and only caring about shiny things. They actually
I love magpies.
they're great,
too.
you know, so smart, but they actually were generous. They would provide for other individuals in their group without being asked. And then
Which is better than the chimpanzees that we talked
Right.
about last week,
Yes.
right? That couldn't give a hoot.
right, that do not show altruism, which then brings us back to this, is that even a human thing? Is there such a thing as generosity or altruism? I'm guessing early prediction for 2017, we're going to talk more about that next year.
Yeah.
And my personal favorite stories relating to intelligence this year were all about slime molds. We found that slime molds, a mass of cells without a brain or neurons, can actually make strategic logical decisions. And they found that out by a modified version of the two-armed bandit problem. So if one method over and over again gets you a higher payoff, they will learn that and use that method from there on forward. So they learn, they make strategic decisions based on experiences. And then just last week, we found out that slime molds can transfer memory by touching each other.
Right. Hello, slime mold. Hello, let me
Slime
shake hands.
molds.
Here's everything I know.
They're the greatest.
Yeah, and we also discovered that we can buy slime mold on the internet.
Yes. How did I TWIS minions? How did I not get a slime mold? It's not too late. There's still 4 more nights of Hanukkah.
It's true. It's true.
I want a slime mold. Anyway, that was intelligence this year.
There was I mean, we talked about it as we were planning for this year, and it just seemed like this was the year of, yeah, okay, animals are doing things that we didn't think they could. Duh.
Yeah. Like, oh, only humans can. Oh, no, wait.
No, there's another animal who's
wait.
doing that.
Never.
Okay.
But humans are the only ones that can. Oh, no, wait.
Yeah, memes for 2016. This was one of them.
Yeah.
If you just tuned in, this is This Week in Science. I'm Dr. Kiki. Justin and Blair are also here, and we're counting down the top 11 science stories of 2016. Right now, we are at number 8. And this year, AI made it in for number 8. Artificial intelligence was big this year. I know 2015 was the year of dangerous warnings about the future of life with AI, but this year was really seeing what AI could do. There was application of AI all over the place in technology, whether or not you knew it or not. There's AI everywhere in your life. But some of the interesting stories that we reported on was AlphaGo. AlphaGo is an AI that was created by Google DeepMind to play the game Go. And it bested the European Go champion. And then in March, it beat another champion, the world champion at Go. So Lee Sedol was beaten handily by a computer who I remember reading about it, and people said that the computers seem to be inventive and have unique ways of addressing strategy problems. So deep learning actually is an amazing tool for artificial intelligence to be able to develop intelligence to work at things like strategy. Game of Go, it was not expected that this feat would occur for another decade. Happened this year, 2016. Also, there was an AI named Alpha that beat a human opponent at aerial combat for the first time this year.
Oh, yeah, I remember
Yes,
that.
let's
Yeah.
teach robots that. That's
Yeah,
a great idea.
There is also the AI X Prize. The new X Prize is a $5 million competition that was announced this year in partnership with IBM's Watson to pit different groups against each other to develop and demonstrate how humans can collaborate with powerful AI technologies to tackle the world's grand challenges. This is the AI Save Us X Prize. And Google's DeepMind, seriously, Google's DeepMind. It was so big this year. Deep learning, machine learning was also big, but DeepMind AI from Google made big headlines this year. They took a step forward using learning and in learning and reasoning using memory rather than programming. So as opposed to just following programmed decision patterns, actually learning and reasoning. This is the one in which the AI figured out how to get through London's, to navigate London's tube system in the most efficient way. Additionally, there was a story that I'd taken a look at right before the show started in which Google's DeepMind AI, looking at language translation, they had shown it, given it information on how to translate from Korean to Japanese, and also from Japanese to English, or it was Korean to English and Japanese to English. Those were the two translations. So you'd think that if the AI was not given the information, it would use English as an intermediary to be able to translate Japanese to Korean. The AI did not do that. The AI actually created its own intermediary language because it learned the concepts represented by the words in each of the languages and was able to directly translate Japanese to Korean on its own.
Wow.
It figured it out. This is a philosophical language development in AI.
As is also a new language that we are all going to be forced to learn now.
It will.
Yes.
This is huge.
Yes. It reminds me too of that story. I do want to just briefly mention it that we talked about on the show where we were using citizen science. Basically, people were going onto the web to teach a computer system what was terrifying.
Yes.
So that the AI could learn and then adapt images on its own to make normal images look terrifying.
Yep.
That's another great thing to be teaching robots.
Yep. AI, it was very big in 2016, and it's poised to only get even bigger. So I'm excited to see what happens in 2017 for artificial intelligence. What's up at number 7?
Number 7, human evolution. And there was tons and tons of human evolution news this year. First of all, we can start with the old story, which is there was a new hobbit fossil found. This is the Homo floresiensis that was like a decade plus ago discovered. They found a new set. And what's amazing about this new set, they're really old. They're 700,000 years old. The last finding was probably as recent as 70,000 years. This is 700,000 years old, and it's almost in the same size and dimensions as the more recent find. What's interesting about that is the whole prevailing theory that finally people settled on for Homo floresiensis is that it was a Homo erectus that wandered onto the island, got stuck, and experienced island dwarfism. Although 700,000 years ago, the species was pretty much exactly as it is today, and there were already some other problems with that theory. So, Homo floresiensis, new finds. What's also good there is we have a 70,000-year-old find. We have a 700,000-year-old find. Very likely we're going to have more discoveries of these and more examples of these fossils to study in the future. We also learned a lot about Neanderthals and their genes, how those genes help keep populations low, so that they can be on the move and be part of these quickly moving small population groups. But that also made them kind of inbred. And it also, those same things that were an evolutionary advantage to a small group of traveling Neanderthals, and not so much in humans. There's Neanderthal links to a lot of things that cause infertility and the like in humans.
Right. And then wasn't there a story about Neanderthals eating each other? Like the cannibalism might have led to their demise.
No, there's no cannibalism led to their demise. There may have been examples of cannibalism, but they don't know if this was like hunted or if this is after the fact kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And modern humans,
Right.
they probably learned it from modern humans because that's what we did.
I learned it from you.
Actually, one of my most my favorite of these of all the discoveries from this last year was there was a modern human sequence that was found in an Altai Neanderthal, which means there was a human that was raised amongst Neanderthals. And as they sort of separated out that which was modern human in this, they discovered, well, first of all, the time frame of this, 100,000 years ago. Our oldest recording, like the people of Papua New Guinea made the news because their genes were tracked and they were found to have left Africa 72,000 years ago. This is 100,000 years ago in like Siberia. And what's also interesting, they think this group of modern humans sort of separated from the group of modern humans that we're all more familiar with and related to 200,000 years ago. So this is some group that left well before, at least 30,000, but probably even well before that, Africa, ended up living with Neanderthals in Siberia and interbreeding with them. And then sort of in that scenario, the culture disappeared. Where did it disappear to? Well, it's in the genes of the Neanderthals there. So we have another example of humans and Neanderthals merging, only in this case, it was the Neanderthals that we have example of at the end, and not the modern human, as happened in the later scenario.
Yeah. Wasn't there a story, not Neanderthal related, but there was another story about DNA found in DNA found in ancient humans that suggests that there was another species of ancient human that we haven't found yet.
Yes, and there's also, I mean, there's this
That's the one I thought was really interesting.
Yeah, and like this is one though. This is a mystery human here in this scenario. But yeah, there's other clues that there's modern humans that may have split off and come back again. And then when we're talking about the evolution of humans, we also talk about intelligence a lot, which kind of goes back to what we were talking before. And it was sort of an interesting story. I thought it was fascinating, where one of the, I guess, one of those things that the researchers have looked at to sort of determine brain capacity was just brain size and the importance of the brain getting bigger over time and the folds and all of this.
Mm-hmm.
And this group sort of found a much closer correlation to the amount of blood that circulates into the brain, more so than brain size. And what they did is they looked at the openings where the major arteries deliver blood to the brain, and they watched as that opening got larger over time. And they say you can actually sort of track perhaps the amount of cognitive energy that was going on in the species that has this increase of blood over time. So really interesting stuff in human evolution this year.
Yeah, and there was a lot of really interesting stuff out of Africa too. Oh my gosh.
Oh, and then the other big one was the finding of the Lucy aged
right
from trees
outside of the Rift Valley. This is Australopithecus outside of the Rift Valley, which is fine, which doesn't change anything. It does say what I've been saying. It agrees with something I've been saying a long time, which is the Rift Valley isn't necessarily the breadbasket of human evolution or the origin point. It's just a cornucopia of easy archaeology.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily easy.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Things we found. We found it there.
For millions of years, we have, straight as this Rift Valley pulls apart, it also exposes the past as it goes. So everything's in this nice accessible record. You can go back through these layers quite easily. And so when we do find stuff, it's easy to date. It's exposed. It's also an area that got flooded and there was silt and all this. So not surprising that Australopithecus didn't just live in the Rift Valley. And we're going to be, I think, finding that this human experiment is much broader. And it's going to be harder to define, a what we would like to think of as a direct human ancestor, because in the end result, it's likely all of them.
That's right. So many. But you know what? This is what brings us to number 6.
Number 6.
Number 6.
6 is all about medicine, which is a pretty large category, but there has been so much progress in this field over the past year. First off, tixobactin, chemists succeeded in producing that antibacterial agent. We just discovered it last year, so now this year they've been able to produce it, and so this could be a huge leap forward in treating human infections. Basically, it's a new class of antibiotic, which would be great. Speaking of antibiotics, science discovered a compound called tyrosin that reinvigorates antibiotics. This takes antibiotics, it basically takes the whole idea of an expiration date on antibiotics out of the picture. So adding the tyrosin in reinvigorates it, makes it effective again against bacteria, which obviously would be a huge boon to the general community for so many reasons. First off, just economically, it's a huge
We've
impact.
got all these antibiotics that we wish would keep working. How do we keep them working? And if tyrosin is something that is effective and approved already, then let's do it.
Yeah. And not to mention, you can't make this stuff ahead of time because it'll expire. Now you could. Now you could make huge batches ahead of time, ship them overseas to communities that would need them, and then you can just reinvigorate them as needed. Also, we found in the human microbiome genes that researchers could use to make antibiotics. So within us, there's antibacterial agents.
Right. It's because all of those bacteria are fighting each other.
Yeah, they're doing it for us already. We brought sight back to mice where they had severed the optic nerve. They found that they could retrace the former roots and reestablish connections with the appropriate parts of the brain after regenerating those tissues, which obviously huge. There's a new step in the progress of cutting out HIV, actually literally being clipped out of genes by an enzyme called BREC1. That should be a huge jump forward in fighting HIV. And just in the weirdness file, 3-parent baby. So
You say weirdness today.
yes, but it could be commonplace tomorrow. The reason this is in medicine is that actually this was used to fix a mitochondrial issue that these 2 parents were having with all of the babies that they kept having. And so, all of was actually just 2, but they were habitually having this problem. So they were able to take the nucleus of a different female egg, transplant it into the egg. They took the nucleus of the mother, transplanted it into a donor egg, and use the husband's sperm. So a 3-parent baby.
Yeah, so you basically have mitochondrial DNA, nuclear from the donor, nuclear DNA from the mother, and then nuclear DNA from the sperm. 3 parents.
3 parents.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. I don't find it controversial. I find it fantastic.
Yes.
I think we make it controversial by just using that word.
Absolutely.
Let's stop it.
Yeah. I mean, especially, if it's supposed to be for the novelty of it, yeah, that's kind of whatever. But this is to solve an issue that this couple was having to make healthy babies. What is wrong with that?
Right.
I can't see anything. But it's pretty cool.
It is very, very cool. You know what we're going to do right now? We're going to take a quick break. We have hit the halfway point.
We did it.
We did it. We have counted down from 11 to 6. When we come back in just a moment, we'll be talking the top 5 science stories, category stories of 2016. Stay with us. Don't go now. You want to know what we think is number 1.
heard with more than intuition. The line of reason shows the way to go. No conclusion. The methods of hypothesis and patience are the only things I need. Put on a pair of goggles and go looking for the things I couldn't see.
I know it's moving quickly, everybody. You know what? This year moved very quickly, but we have calendars for 2017. I still have them. I can mail them. I have some more. They're in a box right next to me. I can mail them to you. You just have to go to twis.org and click on our calendar order button. It says pre-order for 2017 now, and you can do that. You go to twis.org and you click on that little button on our website. I know it's got a picture of the 2016 calendar, but I promise you, like I'm holding up right now, I have 2017 calendars. Hear them wriggle, wrinkle, wrinkle. Click that button and you'll be able to order your very own 2017 Blair's Animal Corner TWIS calendar. They're great. Art, science holidays, all sorts of fun. Blair has hers. Why don't you have yours? Do you have yours? Why don't you buy one for a friend? Click on that button, twis.org, click on that button right now. Also, while you're at twis.org, maybe consider heading to our Zazzle store. If you go to our Zazzle store, you will find all sorts of lovely items for purchase, and all of the items support TWIS. So if you buy these items, a portion of the proceeds goes directly to us. There are mouse pads, mugs, t-shirts, hats, aprons, tote bags, sweatshirts, iPhone covers, necklaces, all sorts of fun things. Blair has been hard at work adding new products, new items to the catalog. So why don't you head over there? If you go to twis.org, you can click on the Zazzle store link, and that will take you to our store where you can find all sorts of neat TWIS items to wear, to use, to enjoy, and to help support TWIS. We also appreciate being supported through your financial donations. You can directly donate if you click on the donate button on the sidebar of the twis.org website. Click on it. Makes it nice and easy. It's straight through PayPal. If you like PayPal, this is one very easy way to go. If, however, you're a fan of other options, Patreon is also a great one. You can go to Patreon, click on the orange pledge button, and it's an easy way to donate in an ongoing basis. Basically become an executive producer of TWIS. Your ongoing support allows us to keep doing the things that we need to do to make the show happen. So you can support at $1 an episode, $2 an episode, whatever. And some of these levels of support get gifts in return. So thank you so much for your support. Thank you for considering supporting us through either PayPal or Patreon. If you're unable to support us financially in these ways, non-financial matters are extremely important as well. So if you're able to tell people about us on social media, either Twitter or Facebook or Instagram or Snapchat or whatever you're using for social media, if you can tell people about the most recent episode of TWIS, lead people to subscribe to TWIS, either the podcast or our YouTube channel. This is a huge way that you can help us grow and become a better show. Your support, whether financial or just in kind, by helping us reach out to people that we haven't met yet. This is super, super important for us to be able to keep doing what we're able to do. Any way you're able to help us, we really appreciate your support. We really could not do this without you. Thank you.
You believe in that sham. We disagree, but I still give a damn. The ramification of treatments from holy men leaves me slightly queasy deep down in the...
And we are back with more This Week in Science.
Oh yeah, we've come back yet again to begin.
Where are we at? I don't even know what
Number
number
5.
Number 5.
Five. That's right. 5. Oh, it's a big one. This is a big one. A lot of people have put this at their number 1, but it's not our number 1.
Good. It's good. It's really good. It deserves the number 1 spot in regular top 10 lists.
Yeah.
In regular top 10 list.
But in a TWIS top 10 list, no.
Or
Plus
11.
1 or 11, right?
110%.
Gravitational waves, you guys. This last year, January, it was announced that we had discovered gravitational waves. This supported and proved an aspect of Einstein's theory of relativity, which, for decades, it's been like, yo, Einstein said this, we should find this, right? Do we have space-time? Well, if we do, there should be ripples in it, right?
Yeah.
And the LIGO detector announced the discovery 2 black holes, massive black holes, like over 30 solar masses apiece, merging into an over 60 solar mass giant black hole, some 1.3 billion years in the past. And now, the ripples that they're detecting are not giant black hole size ripples. This is little tiny ripples. If you look at a rock thrown in a pond, initially they're big ripples, but then they get smaller and smaller with distance, right?
Yeah.
Toward the edges of the pond. It's kind of the way that works. And so seriously, this LIGO detector is looking at differences in frequency of basically like it's like a proton vibrating that the LIGO detector is detecting to be able to do this. And they're able to get rid of all the other junk, all the other stuff that's happening in the universe that could be shaking things and making wibbles and wobbles. And they were able to find gravitational wave ripples.
But they only found it once, and it was such a narrow discovery. It's still, you can raise a little specter.
Nope.
Huh?
Nope.
Wait, what?
They found it twice.
Oh, yeah, that's right. They found it twice. That's right.
Again
Confirmed.
in June, confirmed. And so they had, and these were even smaller black holes than the original monster pair, more gravitational waves, more ripples. And then the LIGO detector went for improvements, and in November opened up again with a greater sensitivity. And now we're looking at an Italian part of the detector coming online. And then there's also an Indian detector that's coming online. If we put all these things together, we should be seeing announcements of black hole collisions maybe like once a day in a year or two.
Wow.
It's going to start coming fast and furious.
I've always said it's just a matter of time.
Go back to those prediction shows of the past, Justin.
Yeah, actually, I might have a little come up in some next week's show.
Next week's show, I think we're going to be talking about this just a little bit. Just a little.
Mhm.
Yeah. So anyway, gravitational waves predicted for a long time, finally confirmed. Big news. But there's other stuff that's more pressing for what we're doing on an everyday basis. So number 5. What's next, Justin, at number 4?
Number 4.
Number 4. Bacteria and the microbiome. My goodness, the microbiome made a lot of news this year.
Yeah.
I almost think we had some microbiome stories in every single show.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, it was pretty much the norm, right?
Yeah, it was kind of like Zika. Bacteria were everywhere in 2016.
They were. And it became a household word, microbiome, at least here in the TWIS house. And I'm running into more and more people who recognize this word, who understand this concept now. Some of the interesting stories, there were so many of them. Duke University researchers showed that manipulating dopamine signals in the nervous system of a nematode worm controlled the inflammation in its gut, suggesting that you could perhaps, in one direction, tackle gut inflammation with antipsychotics. And in a very similar experiment, they kind of went the other way around and showed that that there is a marked shift in your microbiome that may affect your mood, right? And so it's kind of a two-way street here. You could actually tackle perhaps problems that mental problems or anxiety problems by treating the gut microbes directly, by changing the microbial mix. There's a link between specific types of gut bacteria and blood pressure. There was also an interesting study on twins in the UK that found parts of our microbiome might actually be inherited, and not just because we have close contact with our families, but because we have genes that might work to limit or encourage certain types of microbes to live within us. And in that study also, it's possible that they've found a link then between gastrointestinal issues and having the wrong bacteria for a particular genetic makeup.
Right.
This field is just, I mean, the directions it's taking us. You know, we started with talking about how you put the skinny mouse microbe in an obese mouse, and the mouse becomes obese. That was like last year, to really understanding that this is key to human health and mental states on top of this, right? Like, it's going to be talked about for everything. We were talking about bacteria in the teeth. This is a story that made Blair cringe because I think it was, what was it? Was it that it had fuzzy tendrils on certain layers, but it was sort of like its own biofilm that created on the teeth, right? It's sort of,
Oh yeah, tooth sweaters. Those gross me out.
tooth sweaters, yeah.
Why brushing your teeth is such a fantastic idea, but also helps scientists understand bacteria. Hedgehogs for teeth. Yeah. It was fantastic. Yeah, bacteria was the whole, I was taken by a lot of the gut brain connection stories this year. Basically the mental health, like you brought up. Like, those were the ones that really got to me.
There was also some look into studying bacteria and compared to a biofilm that we need to work more comparing this to. We're working with a lump of bacteria or the biofilm itself, because bacteria operate differently when in large communities. They start to have more segregated duties, and they change their behavior in a sense. So everything that we know about a bacteria isolated in a lab might not mean anything when that bacteria is in a lump and is in a community.
A biofilm. Yeah.
Yeah, and we've already seen it when, like, we have antibiotics that work on a bacteria and then don't work on a biofilm or a chronic infection, right? So we're learning what we don't know. Let's see. This is scientists at Oak Ridge National Lab. They succeeded in growing nanoarchaea bacteria that live in crazy acidic hot springs in Yellowstone and have previously eluded culturing.
Yeah, but this one was interesting because it was all thanks to genomic sequencing. So they basically, instead of just trying to take a sample and then change culture conditions randomly to see what would grow, they actually were able to sequence the DNA within a sample to be able to determine what would be the best conditions to create a culture. And so they were basically able to just say, oh, this is what we need to do, and therefore be able to grow the culture, grow the bacteria in the culture. I mean, this is how bacterial culturing is going to move forward in the future, especially for finding bacteria that'll help us discover new antibiotics. And I mean, this is one of the problems. We've only maybe identified and grown in the lab like 1% of all bacteria on the planet. This is what we need, is genetic sequencing, so we know what they need and we can feed them appropriately.
Yeah, and I mean, and it's very likely that, like, we have this new antibiotic we derived from a gut microbe. This is our new rainforest of drug treatments going forward. There was talk about probiotics being useful in certain types of cancer. There was how our immune system relies on bacteria to actually control the glucose metabolism in our bodies. So we have a just huge field that is literally exploding within our guts right now.
It's gross.
I don't know.
It's as we explore
I should have stuck with the rainforest analogy.
Yeah,
I think
that was much less gross. As we explore this field, I think it becomes more and more clear that our bodies are vessels for bacteria. We may have our own plans for life and our 5-year plan, 10-year plan, career aspirations. Really, we're just a giant home to microbiota. And
we're
as
how
long as we
microbiota
stay healthy, they're happy.
Yeah, I think this year also brought the understanding that maybe not all poop pills, all the fecal transplants are good because pathogenic bacteria also pass through the filters that we have in place. And so maybe there needs to be better screening. You got to be careful about that. And we also got to speak with our good friend
Josiah
Zahner, who performed a big microbiome transplant on himself. DIY microbiome transplant. And he's been in the news all over the place lately for his work. So yeah. Fascinating stuff there.
And I have a feeling that these stories, as well as probably all of these categories, are going to continue to be big in the next year. I think that this is a field that we're going to be talking about for as long as there's a TWIS.
Yeah, I think that it just makes more sense. True. The more we learn about ourselves and the complex community within us, the more our medicinal treatments will mirror the actual interactions in our body. So it makes perfect sense that the more we understand our microbiome, the more we understand the inner workings of how all these things are connected, the more we'll try to key into that when we try to cure illnesses or resolve issues within our body, and the more we'll veer away from drugs.
Yeah.
Right.
And this is totally off the subject and a little bit more personal.
Of course. Where would we be in a TWIS episode without a tangent?
Without a slight tangent here. So I went to the dentist recently. And I've got terrible some terrible plaque issues, like that hard encrusted stuff that it's down in the gums, and my dentist is explaining that it's a bacteria that creates this. And I'm like, okay. But is it a bad bacteria to have, really? Because she was pointing out, it's like, well, yeah, there's another bacteria that causes cavities. You don't have any of that. Because I have like no cavities. I'm 44 years old. I've got I got two. I got two on my wisdom teeth because it got up under behind the thing. But so they're like, yeah. So I'm saying, like, if I didn't have this bacteria that's causing plaque that you're gonna have to go in there and clean, I could have the other kind and I'd have cavities everywhere. And she's like, well, it's sort of how that works. And so then they're going to, do the cleaning, and they're talking about they can put lasers in there. I'm like, yeah, lasers. And we're going to put the lasers in there and kill off all the bacteria. I'm like, wait a second. Doesn't that sound like we're getting rid of the thing that's sort of been preventing the cavities? Because I'd rather go in there for a deep cleaning once in a while than ever have to have a tooth filled.
Right.
So I'm passing on your pew. If I had the cavities, I'd be like, shoot it up. Right?
I'm passing on your pew. Yes, that's perfect.
Right? Like, if I had cavities,
I hope that's verbatim what you said.
All I have to say is dentist lasers for the win. Pew, pew.
I would, if I had cavities, I'd have them lasering it all up. But I'm kind of like partial to these things that they've kept me out of drilling for all of these years.
Yeah. Did she also talk to you about gum disease and heart disease?
Okay,
anyway,
Brett, just quick note, Kiki, quick note. The heart disease connection actually is not there. We talked about this on TWIS a bazillion years ago. The other one is, I doubt anybody's ever gone into a dentist's office and they said, you have no gum disease. Well done.
It's a function of being a human and eating food.
Yeah, something that
has never happened.
Right. All right, let's move into the next one on the list.
Number three. Are you guys ready to get out your hankies? This one's a sad one. It's time to talk about climate change.
Or chlamydia, the disease of the planet.
Chlamydia, the carbon cause lady.
I have to say, I don't think there's been a top 11 show, maybe one or two top 11 shows that has not
There's never
highlighted chlamydia.
This is probably the lowest it's ever been.
This is
actually,
like the
straight.
dentist. This is the dentist visit conversation about the
The
earth.
thing about climate change, it is the environmental issue of our time.
It is.
I say that definitively. That's an opinion of mine, but that is my opinion.
Learning to live with climate.
Global emissions of carbon dioxide stayed steady for the third year in a row in 2016. That's good news.
Yeah, that's good.
However, atmospheric carbon dioxide continued to rise because of El Nino. It decreased possible carbon sinks, and they found that no country is currently reducing CO2 emissions fast enough to keep us below a 2-degree global temperature increase. Ice core studies have marked the 1940s as the earliest point at which the Pine Island Glacier in Antarctica began its retreat. Started in the 1940s, still going strong. 2016 was real hot. The first 6 months of 2016 broke all temperature records.
What?
Winner, winner, winner! We won it. We done it, folks. Number one with a bullet.
January to June was the warmest half year on record, with an average temperature 1.3 degrees Celsius warmer than the late 19th century.
That's not good.
No.
That's not good.
The Northwest Passage is now clear enough for cruise liners to make their way along the passage. That's unprecedented.
It is.
Santa's workshop was unseasonably hot this year. Low sea ice and warm airflow from a wavy jet stream set the Arctic up for an unseasonably warm temperature, about 20 degrees Celsius above normal. Celsius, not Fahrenheit, Celsius.
When you said wavy, I was hoping you were going to talk about like wavy gravy.
Wavy gravy.
Yeah.
Ice cream's not going to fix the problem, I'm afraid.
Yeah, 'cause it's gonna
Gravies
melt.
and ice cream?
A military base called Ice Worm under snow since the 1950s will soon be unearthed. Along with that, a whole lot of stuff we don't want revealed. Things that are going to cost a lot of money to clean up, as military bases often do. They assumed it would never be unearthed, because it was under so much permafrost, but no. Carbon dioxide in waters have made some serious issues, not just temperatures rising, ocean acidification. A new study looking at fish behavior found that fish exposed to high amounts of carbon dioxide causes them to swim towards predators. Carbon dioxide actually made them alter their behaviors and act in ways that are deeply, deeply bothersome to the survival of their species.
This week in shark news, global warming is good for the diet, makes it easier to hunt. I mean,
Right.
Fish are going to love this, right?
Yes, carbon dioxide also in the waters. Ocean acidification have caused, most likely is the cause behind the Great Barrier Reef bleaching. We reported on this twice this year. It made quite a splash because 93% of the Great Barrier Reef experienced some sort of bleaching this year. They expect overall about a 50% mortality in the northern sector. The central and southern portions most likely, fingers crossed, will recover, which actually brings us to the other animal side of things I wanted to mention here, frogs. Frogs were identified as the first group to be at such a great risk from climate change. It surpasses historically what was the number one reason any species was endangered, habitat destruction. Climate change surpassed that for frogs. The reason that's terrifying, frogs and other amphibians are indicator species. When amphibians go, the rest of vertebrates follow along in their wake. So if frogs are the first group to be greatly affected by climate change, by reduced habitat from climate, by rainforest fires, which are a thing now, there's expectation for other groups of animals to follow. And sea level rise.
Our froggy canaries.
Yes, they're froggy canaries. That's exactly what they are.
Froggy canaries.
Sea level rise. 4 papers in PNAS found that sea level rise is the fastest it's been in 2,000 years. So all this, not great news. Here's the rosy side of this. We have the science. We've been sequestering the data to save it, which we reported on recently.
Yeah.
We have the information. We have the ability to do something. Now is the time for us to do it, because this is a pressing problem and the science is there to prove it.
Or it's too late, and the country is
That
now
is a defeatist attitude, and I don't like it. It is unproductive, and I won't hear it.
Now is the time to buy beachfront property several hundred
In the
miles
Sierra
inland.
Or, we could all band together, demand that our politicians pay attention to this issue. Demand.
Yeah.
We could band together to create new legislation, which we did, by the way. We have done. We will continue to do.
And I think this is a perfect point to move into number 2.
What's number 2?
Number 2?
Number 2 is policy.
Yes.
Science
There
policy.
we go.
We talk a lot. We've for years have talked a lot about science policy on TWIS. And a lot of times we're down on things that are happening in Washington and stuff that's going on. But this year, there were several events in policymaking that were very, very promising. In June, the U.S. Senate ratified a reform bill that changes the out-of-date and decades-old Toxic Substances Control Act so that there's more science involved in the regulation of new chemicals, where before companies could just put new chemicals out into the environment and there was a having to prove harm after things were already out there doing stuff. Now they have to be shown to be okay before they're
Wait,
allowed.
I thought we already knew DDT was harmful. Oh, this is DDTB.
Right.
It's a new thing. It's a new thing. Oh, okay. Yeah, let's see what it does.
So there's science. They're using science of chemistry and chemicals to be able to regulate, as opposed to not science. So evidence. They're bringing evidence to bear on stuff. Additionally, the FDA, we've been reporting for years on antibacterial agents in soaps. FDA finally voted to ban 19 specific substances, giving manufacturers only a year to phase them out. So 2017, you should see products with no triclosan, no triclocarbon in them. These compounds.
I can't wait to see
gone.
my soap that says, no antimicrobial agents. Like big bone.
That'll be funny. Additionally, the FTC voted for science. They made new rules for marketing over-the-counter homeopathic products that are released based on the finding that lots of them were misleading in their claims of efficacy. And they recognized that an OTC homeopathic drug claim is not substantiated by competent and reliable scientific evidence might not be deceptive if the advertisement or label where it appears effectively communicates that there is no scientific evidence that the product works, and the product's claims are based only on the theories of homeopathy from the 1700s that are not accepted by most of modern medical experts. Science, evidence.
There was quite some pushback from that too.
And there was a lot of pushback from it, but this is science,
strong.
evidence pushing through in policymaking. And finally,
Beautiful.
in
That's
December,
my favorite. I like that.
This is the best one. The House and the Senate approved the 21st Century Cures Act. It was sent to the president for signing, earmarking funding for the cancer moonshot, opening up the FDA to fast-tracking medical devices and drug treatments. So many big things. Potentially bringing more funding to the NSF and the NIH. We don't know that for sure yet because that's going to be budget issues in 2017. But big policy in 2016 that was moved forward because of science and evidence-based reasoning. So I was excited about it. And as much as people might be down on aspects of 2016, I think these are bright spots and that they're going to have effects for years into the future, which is fantastic. So this brings us to...
Is it time?
It's time. Are we ready? I just
Number
wanted to have that. Number
One.
Number one. What is it, Justin?
CRISPR, Cas9. This is anything like all the CRISPR stuff. RNA, CRISPR RNA. We managed to get RNA that was editable. And what's fascinating about this is if you can do the CRISPR Cas9 and get sort of custom RNA. RNA is something that once the genes are already there, can tell the genes which ones are going to be turned on, which proteins are actually going to be manufactured. You can do a real-time therapy as this progresses, as opposed to like in your next generation's offspring, we're going to remove the gene that does this horrible thing. No, this could be applied as a real-time therapy to somebody who's already living on the planet. The scientists also use CRISPR-Cas9 to repair retinal stem cells with a defect for retinitis pigmentosa. Cells could be potentially transplanted back into the same patient to treat the disease. We're all those things we've been talking about in the last couple of years about what CRISPR might be able to do. It's already just the next year, and they started doing it.
Yeah, it's doing all the things.
Long.
Yep.
They've implanted CRISPR'd cells back into people to treat cancer. I think those blood cells that they were
immune
CRISPRing about.
Immune cells. Yeah. And then there was the single nucleotide mutation editing, and this is big for the potential.
What is that? I missed this one somehow.
So this is point mutations, basically. This is allowing. This is what's really going to be a big effect on human genome editing in the future. If you can go in and edit a single nucleotide base, a point mutation, not a large chunk of DNA, but one single base. And the single nucleotide mutation editing that occurred back in April, but has the accuracy of it was very high to begin with. And so, I don't know, very promising for a lot of single nucleotide polymorphisms, which underlie disease, which is a lot of what underlies disease in humans.
Yeah.
So that's big.
And mice researchers used a 2-vector system to specifically return the function of a clotting protein to in hemophilia B. So, yeah, cure for hemophilia?
Yeah, possibly. Isn't that crazy?
Wow.
Yeah, and then
I remember talking about this because I remember this story because they there was a kid I'd grown up with who had hemophilia, and I told the story then too. And I watched the kid get like a small cut and just continue to bleed, and it's the weirdest thing. Because you're so used to, as a kid, you scrape your knee, you get a scab, no big deal. You spit on it, whatever. This kid had to go to the doctor. He had to call his mom and everything over a tiny little paper cut, just because it didn't clog, just was gonna keep bleeding. That would be huge.
yeah.
They're looking at methodology for repairing sickle cell anemia. China is into human experiments and cancer treatments.
Yeah, this one's very exciting. We don't know exactly what's happened yet, but they have actually they've taken a terminal cancer patient, leukemia patient, or maybe it's lung cancer patient, I think. And they've taken immune cells out of them, used CRISPR to edit them, and then put the immune cells back in so that they fight the cancer. And so the idea is that it'll help the patient fight off the cancer and survive better. And we'll see what happens with it. There's so much exciting stuff. There was another leukemia study where they used not CRISPR, but something called CAR-T to reprogram T lymphocytes and the T cells. And that was very successful, except in the patients where it didn't work, it was really bad. where the immune cells actually kicked off a cytokine storm that led to death in a couple of patients. And so there are a lot of unknowns in the how the immune system responds to stuff. So I don't know, this CRISPR approach is really fascinating, but I don't know. The human gene editing. Yes, there's a lot of this stuff in mice this year, but in humans, they're starting to move in that direction, you guys. And even not in humans, its application, CRISPR's application across the board in understanding molecules and how proteins work in different systems across different organisms, allowing researchers in a very fast way to just dig in and highlight specific genes, specific mutations.
And with the moonshot. And with the moonshot and the fast tracking.
Yeah.
We're not the moon to the moon. Everybody's, it's just the last try. With the cancer moonshot.
Yeah.
We're likely to see a lot more CRISPR stories related to cancer. I mean, this is a huge direction, and these are the sorts of trials that if you see something in the mice, you're gonna fast track it right to humans to see if it continues to work there.
Yeah. So CRISPR, it was I think number 1 on our list last year, and it remained number 1 on our list for 2016, even against such fierce competition as gravitational waves.
Well, think about all of the things that can go wrong with the human body. There's so many things. How many of them have some sort of basis in genetics?
All
of them? Unless you're talking about like something fell on your head.
Right. So CRISPR, kind of a game changer.
No, absolutely. And in fact, even though we're in our very primitive stages of using CRISPR, in our very primitive stages of understanding the human microbiome, there's probably no greater place that it will be utilized and then in the future, and then in customizing probiotics for people based on their genetics and any sort of discomfort or disease that they can attribute to that microbiome. It's probably going to be the field. I think every field's going to use this, but I think that's the field. The combination of understanding the microbiome in humans and the ability to use CRISPR combined is probably going to be the most significant shift in human health since the first antibiotic.
It's
is
great
ironic.
news for me. I know that TWIS listeners know I plan on living to at least 200. So this is fantastic news.
Yeah, and it's the difference between, editing embryos versus editing adult humans. And, the cancer research that's ongoing right now, that's dealing with editing adults. That's helping adults change some aspect of their biology. And this is very exciting news. How does something go in and change so many cells in your body? Fascinating stuff. So additionally, like the sickle cell anemia trials that are potentially going to start next year, or in the next couple of years, there is some very exciting science coming up.
Yeah, and this is also how we're going to be able to bring back the Neanderthal.
Well, I'm glad you want to do that and not the mammoth. I'm more on board with the Neanderthal than the mammoth. So.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah.
That's
weird.
The meetings together.
I would rather bring back a mammoth than a Neanderthal. Are you kidding?
Let's talk about it later. Maybe after show.
You're funny. Okay.
For no other reason than to see if its fingers shrivel when they've been in the water.
Right.
If for no other
reason. That's what I need to know.
It's 2016 and we still don't know where I get pruny in the bath.
Right. Well, 2016 brought all sorts of different science stories to us. These are just the top 11, and we've thrown a whole bunch of stuff into these different categories.
There was one segment of stories that we did. There was quite a few stories that fell sort of outside of that regular preview.
Right. It didn't quite fit into any of these categories, yet Blair was insistent. that we had to include it in the show. So
We have
Blair
honorable mention category.
goes to
Sperm.
that's right, sperm.
This was
Sperm,
apparently
Sperm, sperm,
a
sperm.
story
sperm,
that trended
sperm,
throughout
sperm.
Blair's Animal Corner.
It did. The sperm trended across many different stories.
Okay, let's stop it now. I feel like that's going to get somewhere gross in moments. All right, so sperm. We learned a lot from sperm this year.
I had a nickel.
So first, a really cool epigenetic story with sperm. Looking at mice, there's evidence that tRNA hitch a ride on sperm as they travel down the epididymis to alter protein expression in offspring and affect metabolism. So stuff that is not directly in the little DNA packet inside the sperm hitches a ride on its way out.
This one was really exciting because it was, following the sperm. This is potentially the Lamarckian evolution pathway. How does a non-genetic change, how does something in, say, the dad's lifetime, or even just close to the time of procreation, affect the offspring? And this is a possible mechanism. There's a lot to be learned about the tRNA that's held close to the sperm, and it is in the seminal fluid. It's fascinating.
Yeah, and directly related to that, a study with nereid flies, they found that the females would end up copulating with multiple males, and even though one male would be the father, seminal fluid from other males that she had engaged with would have effects on the babies.
Right.
So this is very similar. They have effect mostly on metabolism of the babies, but there's something in the seminal fluid that is affecting the growth, development, what have you, of the progeny in a way that we still don't understand.
Could it be RNA?
It certainly could be. We don't know yet.
But I mean, that would be the thing that you could imagine, right?
And you could
that
look for
those
it.
other males had tRNA that they sent out, and then RNA doesn't care who won. It's gonna jump into the mix.
Yeah. So the idea is either it's RNA or the seminal fluid is somehow helping the female grow better babies.
Oh.
Which segues perfectly into the next sperm story, which is about red flower beetles, and that the females would continually have sex with more males after they had fertilized eggs. Why? Because they were thirsty and the seminal fluid gave them hydration.
You can't.
Ladies,
at that.
on a hot summer's day.
I remember.
It's so much more than a gene packet, you guys. You're laughing. I find this
I'm not laughing.
fascinating.
It's fantastic.
Because
fascinating.
The conventional wisdom has been the males deliver this DNA packet
And that's
they
it.
peace out. That's all they've done. That's all they need to do. But guess what? All of the stuff in there is part of this huge system of benefits from the seminal fluid. And in animals that have sex with multiple partners, there's a benefit to gaining more of these resources than just, we've talked about sperm competition inside females, all this kind of stuff. No, this stuff purely just resource management. Fascinating. And then last, I will end on a sperm story about humans. They are animals after all, about selecting genders. So a study actually found out that they could pre-select the genders of sperm. So we all know that the females we're all XX, so every single egg is going to have an X chromosome, and so it's the males, it's the sperm that indicate whether you're going to have an XX or an XY. So they can actually the sperm follow chemical trails differently if they're a male sperm or a female sperm, and so you can actually select out. It's much easier to select the males because those follow these chemical trails faster, so you can select for male sperm. Or they are currently working on methods to select female sperm. But the expectation is that spending for cytometric sorting is estimated to be at $140 million a year. So they think that this would be a fairly low cost service, low cost, quote unquote. I mean, this would have to be an in vitro situation. So already that's pretty expensive, but you could essentially pre-select for a male or a female baby if you cared that much.
You could, especially if you're doing IVF.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Which if you're already doing that,
But
I mean,
then
why not?
I think anybody who signs up for that should also take a counseling course on if your child turns out to be gay, because you only get so much. Even with this, you're only going to have so much of your own choice before this becomes its own person.
Absolutely. But I think that it's very interesting that, again, we think that sperm is just this chemical packet, this just packet of DNA that just, here it is. But there's so much more going on, that the sperm actually respond differently to chemicals, whether they're male or female.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot more going on with those little sperm than we thought.
Listen, sperm is the window
To the soul.
to...
Is that where you're going? Where are you going with that?
Sperm is the window to evolution, is what I was going to say. Because sexual selection drives so much of evolution.
Yeah.
And we have so much to learn from reproductive strategies and the combination of DNA from partners that I find it fascinating.
Yeah, and in other news this year, stem cell researchers in Japan were able to create, using mice cells, they created oocytes, egg cells, from skin cells.
Yes.
Wow.
So that was a huge advancement. So like eventually what we're going to be able to do is for individuals who maybe have had cancer and lost their ability to produce eggs or lost all their eggs, we'll be able to produce eggs for them. And then we'll be able to choose the sperm from their partner to be able to exactly create an offspring, but it'll never happen.
Blair
It's
will
all
be able
IVF.
to have children at 158.
Yeah. No
It's
thanks,
only-
though. That sounds terrible.
That's only if she takes care of her microbiome to keep her
Yes.
young, right?
Yes,
So
yes.
either that or starts drinking the blood of the young.
Yes, and also just going in for weekly CRISPR treatments.
That's right. Was it this year? This year was also some of the sewing mice together. And there were some of those aging studies, the vampire basically finding proteins in mouse blood that contribute to aging.
No, that's older. That's like 2
Is it
years ago
was
now.
that-
We've been doing this for forever. I know.
think
All
there
these
was
years
some-
are starting to
I
run
know
into
it's an
together.
ongoing story, but I think there were more advancements this year. They're starting to really hone in on what some of those proteins are, which is exciting. Which
It's
means
too late for
we might not-
2016. You're going to have to bring those stories to 2017. Special honorable mention for this year, I would say, goes to the slime mold, which didn't.
I love the slime mold.
I
didn't
talked
require
about it.
Yeah. Oh, did you really? I missed.
Yeah, in Intelligence, I talked all about the slime molds.
But a special honor mention. They're just lovely creatures. And
They're
their
great.
evolution.
We talk all about the slime molds. We love the slime molds.
We're gonna. Oh yeah, that's right. We're gonna order some.
I'm
for
officially a
next year.
slime mold enthusiast.
Yeah, I'm going to say also synthetic biology was very exciting.
Yes,
but not
I
as
loved
much.
synthetic biology this year.
Yeah, we got
I
synthetic
liked
biology.
the origami robots that you swallowed and then they opened up
Yeah.
and performed a function inside your body.
Yeah, what was the other technology stuff? We had DNA being used to make a really tiny diode.
Yes.
There was the 3D printer for chemicals.
Yes, I loved that. Let me just print out a quick vaccine for you real quick.
I know. There was also we didn't highlight this story, but CO2 being added to volcanic rocks in Iceland and basically putting carbon dioxide back in the ground, which was a big one.
Yes.
That could
Yes.
hopefully the technology will advance so we can use it in the future. A lot of paraplegic kind of stuff, advancements in teleportation.
One of my favorites was about how a small robot that looked kind of like a toy turned people on.
Right.
So that's why you
wait.
really need that next iPhone. It turns out it's not just cool. It's a
It'll
deep-seated
turn you on.
desire.
I don't think we mentioned it. I don't know if it's still being discussed anywhere other than we blurbed on the show once. The Hungarians who found a fifth force of nature.
Right.
What was
Yeah.
that? What's the fifth one?
I know, like
So it was so this is their protophobic force, where it's a proposed fifth fundamental force. They haven't there have been a few studies. They're putting a lot of evidence forward. It's Hungarian and also UC Irvine researchers, I think, and they've put a lot of evidence forward for their model of a protophobic X boson.
Yeah, there's some anomaly that the current maths can't figure out in radioactive decay, and they're proposing a new force, fundamental
That's
force
right.
of nature.
Yeah, why not? Let's just add
So,
another force.
They're proposing it, so I guess that's why they didn't make the top list.
Isn't that
for
kind of
proposing
like
it.
when you're
If you
like
make a discovery, I kind of like okay.
I feel like that's like when you're supposed to do a proof in geometry and you can't find one of the steps, so you go, magic happens. And you could just say, new force of nature.
We'll just put that in there.
Therefore, it's a rectangle.
Yeah. There were also, what was the organoids, the little mini brains. Researchers created little tiny brains out of skin cells.
Oh, what?
Oh, man.
Yeah. So they basically created little tiny brains. They're organoids, but they're all nerve cells and glia and all sorts of stuff. But complex structures made from skin cells, but reprogrammed to turn into brains. And they're using them to study the effects of drugs and brain disorders and stuff. So it's
Neato.
The oldest forms of life on planet Earth, like the
Right?
oldest that had ever been on
Oh,
land,
yes,
and
yes,
then
yes,
the
yes.
oldest that had ever been under the sea. And
Oh,
it's-
that's
it
right.
pushes
And
it
my
back to, like,
favorite
almost-
story was about the primordial soup, saying maybe it's not a soup, it's a vent.
maybe it was a vent. Exactly.
Which is a pretty big difference when you think about trying to recreate the soup and make life generate. If you add extreme heat and a bunch of sulfur, that kind of changes the expectation.
the
So
flavor of the soup.
absolutely it changes the flavor of the soup. You're right.
Yeah. And then there was also Scripps researchers that started evolving ribozymes to replicate the RNA world hypothesis, to basically show that RNA really could have self-replicated and predated DNA in biology. So maybe it started in vents as RNA and then moved along. Right?
Oh my gosh, I love it.
That was cool
How
stuff.
cool if like I picture my kids or my grandkids that their biology textbooks
Talk about this stuff.
are going to
200
have
years
this
from now.
kind of I mean
200
no
years
those
from now.
please those are my great grandchildren. but yes, I think about the advancements in science and just how much has changed since I was in school and I had these textbooks, and already they're probably way different. But just a couple more generations down the road, those textbooks are going to be almost unrecognizable compared to what we had when we were in school. And I think that is the power of science, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh.
Also, I don't think there'll be paper anymore.
Right. They'll all have their little Kindles.
Yeah. Yeah. Or it'll just be some sort of implant.
Right?
An implant? No.
Yeah, just sort of like hang on, it's
I know
okay,
Kung
now.
Fu. Is that what you're
Here's the
talking about?
information in your brain.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be like the Matrix. We'll plug in at a certain age. You'll plug in, download all the information, and there you'll know everything.
What is the fun in that?
Or yeah, like, and why even plug it in? Why even bother people with it? It's like, by the way, you're now a physicist. Oh, what do I do? Just run this app. It does everything for you. Okay.
So, but that's kind of the idea of saying, oh, we have calculators now. You don't need to know calculus.
Yeah. No. I mean, I agree with you.
You do need to know calculus.
You
But
do, though.
Here's the
People need to
here's the
know
thing.
intervals and limits.
but here's the thing. A lot of stuff now they let you use a calculator for.
But you need
they
to
used to
know
be like, no
how
calculators
to
in school.
use the calculator.
You have to know how
You
it all
have
works
to understand.
together.
Yeah.
How
And
do you
at some point, you'll
calculate
just
the
need to
area
know
beneath
how
the
to click on
curve?
the app that makes you do your job. You're not even going to have to. But
How
then at
will I
some point,
know?
they'll be like,
However, will I know how quickly my donut-shaped swimming pool will fill?
This is a good question. You should work.
Step one actually isn't do the math. Step one is get a donut shape.
Yeah.
Calculate
Turn on the water.
Calculate the volume of your donut-shaped swimming pool. What is the flow
And hit
rate
the app that does the timer.
from your hose?
I remember very clearly the day that we learned how to calculate the volume of a donut in calculus because my teacher brought donuts.
That's a good segue.
Oh, so much amazing science as long as we have donuts.
Yeah.
I think
As long as you know why you're doing it, right?
Because I like donuts.
Yeah, that's why.
Because donuts are awesome. And so is science. So it's like a science donut,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
TWIS, bringing you science donuts every week.
Right.
That's right. Oh my gosh, you guys, so many great stories. It was really fun, as usual,
times.
going through the past year and looking back at everything that we covered and really taking a look at it and putting it all together as a big picture for the year to see where things are going. It's always really fun to take this view, kind of the year-long view.
Yeah, and if you liked any of those stories and you want to hear more about them, you can
Listen to the
find
entire year of shows.
No,
right,
you
on our
can
website.
find the show notes, which we're going to talk about in a second. You can find the episodes that those are from based on when the story came out, and you can listen to the entire episodes. And then you can hear us go more in depth into each of these stories, which will take you, I don't know, probably 10 hours.
Just a little bit of time. But, if you've got a good long road trip or something, it could be fun.
Absolutely.
And, this is what we're going to be doing for the next year ahead as well, which we're very excited about. I'm excited about 2017 and looking at everything that was discovered in 2016. There's just going to be more amazing stuff that's going to blow our minds, stuff that's going to make us giggle, stuff that's going to make us just so excited. And it's all coming, and there's another year of science ahead, and I can't wait until next year's review show.
Yes.
We run it all down again. But next week, we're going to be discussing predictions, our annual prediction show, which is fun. It's a fun show. This is a very lighthearted show. We take a look at the predictions that we made in the previous year to see how we did, kind of rank it all up, and then we make predictions for the next year. And we are also going to be joined by Amy Webb, who is a technologist and futurist who has written a book about predicting and how we make predictions about the future. And so we'll be talking with her about her book and also the methods that professionals who predict trends in technology, how they should be looking at the future and the information they have at hand to be able to do that. Additionally, we have, the calendar. Yes. Our calendar, the TWIS calendar, it's still here, 2017. Look, there's one over my shoulder. 2017.
You guys, if you want me to keep making calendars, you have to buy this one.
That's right.
That's the deal.
Blair hand-arted. She hand-arted all the art for every month of the calendar year. We also keep you apprised of science holidays, technology holidays, things that are fun and interesting, and also all of the days of TWIS throughout the year. Check it out at TWIS.org if you are interested. Additionally, go to facebook.com/thisweekinscience to be able to find out about our SF Sketchfest appearance at the Cal Academy of Sciences in San Francisco on January 19th. Right now, it's a moment for shout outs to our Patreon sponsors. I'd like to thank our Patreon sponsors for their support. Thank you to Chris Clark, Paul Disney, G. Burton Lattimore, John Ratnaswamy, Richard Onemus, Byron Lee, EO, Jared Lysette, Kevin Parachan, Andy Groh, Keith Corsell, Jake Jones, Ulysses Adkins, Derek Nickel, Dave Friedel, James Randall, Alex Schwalb, Bob Calder, Mark Mazzaros, Ed Dyer, Trainer 84, Brian Hedrick, Layla, Marshall Clark, Charlene Henry, Don Camarachka, Larry Garcia, Randy Mazuka, Tony Steele, Gerald Onyago, Steve DeBell, Daryl Lambert, Haroon Sarang, Melissa Mosley, Alex Wilson, Jason Schneiderman, Greg Guthman, Dave Neighbor, Jason Dozier, Matthew Litwin, Eric Knapp, Jason Roberts, Richard Porter, Rodney David Widley, Robert Aston, Ben Rothig, Darwin Hannon, Rudy Garcia, Nick Abassi, Felix Alvarez, Cosmic Gypsy, Brian Hone, Orly Radio, Brian Condren, Pixelfly, Marked, Nathan Greco, Hexator, Deborah Smith, Mitch Neves, Flying Out, John Crocker, Christopher Dreyer, Sylvan Westby, Artyom Shuwada, Dave Wilkinson, Steve Mashinsky, Rich Ramos, Gary Swinsberg, Phil Nadeau, Braxton Howard, Sal Good Sam, Matt Sutter, Emma Grenier, Philip Shane, James Dobson, Kurt Larson, Stefan Insom, Michael George, Russell Jensen, Mountain Sloth, Jim Drapeau, John Maloney, Jason Olds, James, Paul West, Alec Doty, Luma Lama, Joe Wheeler, Dougal Campbell, Craig Porter, Adam Mishkan, Aaron Luthen, Marjorie, Paul Stanton, David Summerly, Tyler Harrison, and Columbo Ahmed. Thank you for all your support on Patreon. And if you are interested in supporting us through Patreon, you can find information at patreon.com/thisweekinscience. Also, remember, you can help us out simply by telling your friends about TWIS. Really, it really helps. And once again, next week, we're going to broadcast live online at 8 p.m. Pacific time on twis.org/live. You can watch, join our chat room, which is a great place to hang out. There's great conversation that happens there all the time. But if you can't make it, don't worry. It's okay. You can find past episodes at twis.org/YouTube or just twis.org.
Thank you for enjoying the show. TWIS is, of course, available as one of those podcasts. Just Google This Week in Science in your iTunes directory. Or if you have a mobile type device, you can look up the TWIS for Droid app in the Android marketplace, or simply Google This Week in Science in anything Apple marketplacey.
For more information on anything you've heard here today, show notes will be available on our website. That's at www.twis.org.
What?
Oh, yes, it's www.twis.org.
One more time?
www.twis.org, where you can also make comments and start conversations with the hosts, as well as other listeners.
Or you can contact us directly. Email Kirsten at thisweekinscience.com, Justin at twistminion@gmail.com, or Blair at blairbaz@twis.org. Just be sure to put TWIS, TWIS, somewhere in the subject line, or your email will be spam filtered into oblivion. You can also hit us up on the Twitter, where we are at TWIScience, at Dr. Kiki, at JacksonFly, and at Blair's Menagerie. We love your feedback. If there's a topic you would like us to cover or address, a suggestion for an interview, a haiku that comes to you tonight, please let us know.
We will be back here next week for our prediction show for episode 600.
600!
And we hope you'll join us again for more great science news.
But if you've learned anything from today's show, remember,
It's all in your head.
This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science, it's the end of the world. So I'm setting up shop, got my banner unfurled. It says the scientist is in, I'm gonna sell my advice. Show them how to stop the robots with a simple device. I'll reverse global warming with a wave of my hand. And all it'll cost you is a couple of grand. 'Cause this week's science is coming your way. So everybody listen to what I say. I use the scientific method for all that it's worth. And I'll broadcast my opinion all over the earth. 'Cause it's This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 I've got one disclaimer and it shouldn't be news. That what I say may not represent your views, but I've done the calculations and I've got a plan. If you listen to the science, you may just yet understand that we're not trying to threaten your philosophy. We're just trying to save the world from jeopardy. Jeopardy. And this week in science is coming your way. So everybody listen to everything we say. And if you use our method instead of rolling a die, we may rid the world of toxoplasma gondii. Cause it's This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 I've got a laundry list of items I want to address. From stopping global hunger to dredging Loch Ness. I'm trying to promote more rational thought, and I'll try to answer any question you've got. But how can I ever see the changes I seek when I can only set up shop 1 hour a week? This Week in Science is coming your way. You better just listen to what we say. And if you learned anything from the words that we said, then please just remember it's all in your head. Cause it's This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 This Week in 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 Science.
We have scienced another episode. This is TWIS. It's now the after show. Don't say I didn't warn you. Hey, everybody. How's it going? That was fun.
That was really fun.
Yeah, that was a good one. I always love the review shows. They make me so happy. Like, look at all these things we did in the last year. Look at all the stuff we talked about. Look what people discovered.
Well, because otherwise I forget. Like, we go through every single week. We whittle down our stories to 5. I read probably 40.
Right?
And then
like, how many do we read versus how many we actually put in the rundown?
right. So then I can't remember them all. So going back, it's so fun to like be reminded of the amazing things that we found out.
Amazing things. Oh, everybody over on YouTube, thanks for watching on YouTube. I've had fun checking out what people are chatting about over there. It's been interesting.
We're on the YouTube?
We're on the
We're
YouTubes.
on the YouTubes, and there's a chat over there. The live stream.
Oh,
has
there's
its
a
own
chat
little-
on the YouTubes?
Yeah, there's a little chat room over on the YouTubes, and then we've got our own chat room that we do. And Hot Rod was just saying, and Hot Rod, you need to approach me with the administrative kind of things. Blair, I think the TWIS YouTube channel needs a link in the description to the IRC chat.
Yeah, that's not a question for me.
Blair doesn't take
That's hilarious, Hot
It's all-
Rod. Oh my god. You're killing me with that.
Yeah, no, that could be something we could add to the IRC.
I don't know. I might. Actually, I do think that should be something that that's always been a puzzling thing. That is something that should have always been there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right.
It should have been there, I guess. They're like two separate worlds, but connected.
Yeah, but then slowly
Kind
people
of like-
migrate over and they find
You
it.
know what? It's like a slime mold bridge. Can we get the slime mold to touch?
Yes.
Yes. Going to do
Teach me what, Gord?
how to put links in the
Oh,
YouTube.
no, I have enough things.
Has everybody noticed Blair's Leia buns? She's wearing Princess Leia buns, which is awesome. They're very pretty. Here, wait, do that again. I got to put you up there. There you go. Very nice bunnage. Those are good buns.
I wear them all day today.
Those are good. Good buns. My hair's not quite long enough.
I am the Force. The Force is with me.
Yeah. Today was a sadness. Yesterday. Can we take a moment? Not
Today.
just for Carrie Fisher, but for Debbie Reynolds.
Yeah. She was in a movie where she acted like a dude as a woman. And it was great.
Mm-hmm.
Both of them were ladies that
Could hold their own.
held their own, didn't want to be told what was appropriate and not appropriate for a woman versus a man.
Mhm.
They were great.
They were great.
They were
Role
both
models. Yes. Wonderful role models. Oh, 2016. Are we done with you in the deaths yet?
I mean,
I know 2017 will be full of them as well. I mean, this is just the generation we're in at this moment in time. All of our heroes. Biting the dust.
so we have at my office, this is going to sound so silly. We have a giant taxidermied alligator head. And his name is Alligator. And we dress him up for various seasons or holidays.
No.
This entire year, he has been dressed in tribute. He has been Prince. He has been David Bowie. He has been Gene Wilder. And today, he became Princess Leia.
Did you know that this year we lost a duke, a prince, and a princess? They used to call David Bowie the Duke.
Right.
Duke, a prince, and a princess. The royalty is dying. Boy.
It's hard. It's weird because, you know, like I was talking about before we went on air, you haven't met these people. So it's not like you're missing a loved one.
Yeah.
But there are certain figures and certain people that used their presence in the public eye for non-trivial things and helped bring people through times that were difficult, whether they be puberty or defining tastes or defining what kind of woman you're going to be or defining whether you will be defined. And a lot of those individuals left us this year. And I think that's what makes it so difficult, is that it's not that you suddenly feel the fact that they're gone. It's that you will no longer get new inspiration from those individuals.
Yeah.
And so probably now more than ever, it's worth going back and revisiting the inspiration that you have felt before.
Yeah, although I totally disagree with what you just said.
There's no new inspiration, but you can revisit.
Yeah.
It's like these people, their works of art are out there, so they're constantly accessible.
Exactly.
Yeah,
They just
and
won't be
they mean
producing anything
something
new.
Yeah, and they mean something different to you at different points in your life. Right.
And I say this from the perspective of having some of the most meaningful artists in my life being dead authors. The work will move. The work will continue. The work will. I mean, it will be discovered and rediscovered and rediscovered for generations to come. So I don't think you should say that we've lost that part of it. At least that's the only aspect I'm actually agreeing with.
Well, I'm saying that me personally, selfishly, right? There are not going to be tweets from Carrie Fisher about Trump anymore. That's not going to happen anymore, right? That's what I'm saying, is that you can find relevance in previous works, and we all need to continue to do that. But there won't be any more new works and new statements that we can draw energy or inspiration from. And I think that's what hurts.
Twitter, Facebook, inspiration. Let's go back and appreciate what they did put out there. I mean,
You're not making me.
how cool that Rogue One came out and that movie was made. And she made it through that. And the story's basically, the story's basically done for her. So it's like,
yes.
she
kind of. I mean,
but like,
I'm assuming she shot some things for number 8, whatever that one's going to be called. But I'm sure they're already in the editing phase because it's supposed to come out next Christmas.
Right. So there's got to be, they might still be shooting, but I would doubt it.
This has made me very nostalgic for something that can't exist. Like, I want like Nietzsche to like be tweeting at Trump.
Yeah.
Right?
Or like
Karl Marx to be trolling Putin on the internet. Like, that would be fantastic. We are missing. I never put it in the context of like if the dead authors could tweet, right?
Yes.
There are people who have created.
If Mark Twain could comment on the current state of politics.
Yeah, I mean they do, but they're not real.
Yeah,
but I mean, like, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, there are people who have created accounts for these people.
Yeah.
Which is kind of fun, and if you can follow those, maybe it's fun. I don't know. It's a matter of finding them. Some of them are fun. I'm looking for some now.
I used to really like Batman's Twitter account. He said some great stuff.
Right? Ed from Connecticut. In music, it could be the year of the transgender. People aren't hiding as much. Right? Right, exactly. Made in New York. We don't have to worry. Twitter will tell us what they would have thought. Someone will make up an account and they will live on. Exactly.
Too soon.
Yeah. And Gord, I'm kind of concerned that 2016 will be the new normal for us, because these are the people we grew up with, and this is the age. This is the age when it starts kind of falling apart and things start falling apart. The cancers, the heart disease, the people who are 20 years our senior, 20 to 30 years our senior are going to.
Especially if maybe they went a little bit strong for several decades in pursuing their desires. Perhaps they didn't get a lot of sleep or take a lot of vitamins. Maybe they were taking some other things. It can have an influence as well.
Yeah, I mean, Carrie Fisher was very open about her struggles with drug abuse, and
she went through electroshock treatment too.
She went through electroshock treatment. She also was a almost lifelong smoker. She smoked forever. She had all sorts of stuff going on. So, and maybe who knows, genetic predisposition to heart disease. Maybe it ran in her family somewhere. We don't know that stuff, but yeah, I think our generation probably is. I mean, there was cocaine and heroin before the rock stars and the actors. But maybe rock and roll and acting and Hollywood kind of brought it to a new level of prominence in culture.
I would guess it brought access is what it did.
Yeah, Gordon's saying in the chat room we posted from earlier. Justin Robert Young had an interesting thought about this on Twitter. He believes, and Gord agrees, that with the explosion of media we're experiencing, we've opened ourselves up to loving and connecting with more things than ever, more celebrities than ever. And so our list of people we don't ever want to die expands indefinitely.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking about Carrie Fisher on 30 Rock today. She was so great. I loved her arc on 30 Rock. It was fantastic.
I don't remember Carrie Fisher on 30
Oh,
Rock.
yeah.
I watched almost
She
every
was
episode
great.
of that.
Rewatch her arc on 30 Rock.
Yeah.
She comes out as, or she comes to help Liz Lemon, and she was one of the first female writers on Late Night.
Okay.
Whenever.
All right.
You know?
Okay.
But yeah, she's great.
Let's see, what did somebody else say? I was following somebody on Facebook, and they said that celebrities now are modern man's fertility gods. They represent the ideal, power, youth, and immortality. So when a celebrity dies, it reminds people that even celebrities die. And if celebrities die, then I'm going to die. So what we have is a veiled mourning for our own mortality projected onto the passing celebrity.
Interesting.
I thought that was an interesting way of looking at it also.
I'd buy that. I see some truth in that for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
Oh, Ben Rothig, you bought a calendar. Thank you. Glad to send you one.
Yes.
Yeah, we sold a calendar. That's awesome. Got it right here.
Hooray!
I'll send it out. Toot sweet. Toot sweet.
And anyone who brings a calendar to our Sketchfest event, I will sign.
Yeah, if you're in San Francisco, bring a calendar with you. Bring a t-shirt. I don't know if you have a t-shirt. Do you have TWIS swag that you've bought off of Zazzle or calendar or something? We will sign things. If you want to come, we'll sign them.
Definitely check out the Zazzle store. There's a couple things in particular I really like. There's what's the word? Melamine, right? Is like plastic plates.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
There's melamine
Don't put 'em in the
plates.
dishwasher.
So those are one of my favorites. All the travel mugs turned out really good. There's coasters, which I think are great. There are phone cases. Clocks.
Clocks.
Yeah, there are clocks. And ornaments, although it's too late now. There are buttons. So check it out. My next step, I'm going through, I'm like weeding out all the things that don't work. So I've reduced the number of pages, so it's kind of easier to go through. I'm editing the ones that will work so that the branding is there and it's well centered. But that my next step is to actually add more designs. So I want to add some of the designs from the calendar this year. And if anyone in particular has any desires for a particular design to show up in the Zazzle store, tweet at me, let me know, and I will work on it.
Yeah, that'd be fabulous. Ed from Connecticut is reminding us that this week, the Minion Hangout is not happening tomorrow. Ed's taking the week off. He's having a holiday. So, Ed, I hope you have a wonderful holiday. I hope everybody has a great holiday. It's almost the New Year's weekend. Oh my goodness. No Minion Hangout this week, but next week, hopefully it'll be back online. And as he says in the chat room, East Coast, West Coast, Australia, Finland, all in real time. Technology bringing the people of the world closer together. It's true. And I think that's one of the best things about technology. Someone in the YouTube chat room was complaining about the fact that we were so positive about technology and CRISPR technology and that we weren't talking about, I'm sorry.
Well, we're not very skeptical.
I'm putting that voice on you, and I don't even know if you're still in the chat room or.
Well, I mean,
But let me say that was, come on, mates. It would behoove you to be honest to your listeners. Nice to promote the light of the tech, but the dark is there. Beware.
Yes.
I made some jokes about robots and stuff like that, but I think that ultimately living in a world where you're afraid of technology getting into the wrong hands is not beneficial to society. Like
At this
living
point, I don't
living in
think we can-
fear
we can't do it anymore. Yeah.
of handing off the technology. That's exactly. It not only is it not productive, but we're past that. The internet exists. We are sharing information. Any technology we make, people will have. The only way to make sure that it's used for good is that we make sure it's used for good. And the way to do that is to not stop people from using it.
Yeah, and that's kind of like what Josiah Zahner's working on with his DIY CRISPR kits and, putting the technology. He really, really wants to put the technology in the hands of people. The majority of people are just going to be doing fun things like putting fluorescent genes in yeast or bacteria. Like he's working on creating, a beer that's slightly fluorescent, which is kind of fun, and it's a fun idea. It's something people can do on a weekend or in their garages or their kitchens, or kids can do in classrooms and learn really how molecular biology works. This is hands-on teaching. That he's democratizing the science, democratizing the understanding of the science.
Yeah.
And I think this is also, we talked about it with him, which is the majority of people, and actually the majority of living systems, are not going to be amenable to just any old change. You can't just throw any old mutation in with CRISPR. And this is something that we have talked about before. This was the top 11 show, so we weren't bringing up that part of it, but we've talked about it before. You can't just go, I'm just going to stick any old mutation in wherever I want. I'm going to hack and cut and put whatever I want in there. You can't do that.
I want a forked tongue.
No, not necessarily. I mean, maybe a forked tongue would be easy to do, but if you put things in the wrong places without understanding of why certain bases are in the places that they're in, it's going to cause deleterious mutations, which will lead to the death of the organism. You're leading majority of this stuff, petri dishes, bacteria, and yeast, right?
Yeah.
And they won't survive. They'll die because of whatever effect it has on the metabolism of the organism as a whole. And so with CRISPR, even though it's a useful tool and is going to advance science rapidly, it's not magic.
Right. Well, I think about,
there's still biology and the systems.
Think about the internet. When the internet happened, I'm sure there were people that were very worried about handing all of this information straight over to the public. And yes, there have been issues with everyone having access to any opinion substantiated by any fake evidence. There have been issues with that. Any new jump in technology is going to have to withstand the pressures of becoming normalized. The way to get in front of that is to get science in front of that and to educate people how to use that new technology, which now we're kind of playing catch up on. I mean, I deal with this with my teen volunteers. Every day I work with them, I have to ask them when they're doing a research project, and where did you find that information? And who runs that site? And who pays for that company? And is it a reputable source? Oh, Wikipedia, though a good place to start, is not a reputable source. Mm-hmm. So now we're playing catch up. So yes, I think it's an important point to make, that when we have these huge jumps in technology, we need to get in front of it. We need to get scientists working with that technology sooner, actually, to get in front of that. And we need to educate ourselves on how best to use that new technology. And to try to say that we shouldn't allow some of it, or that some of it shouldn't be accessible, is a losing battle.
Yeah, it is a losing battle. You can't, it's out now. It's not like we can hide it for only certain responsible individuals to use. And then how do we know who those responsible individuals are? who's responsible versus somebody else. You know, it all has to do with what people want to do with things. And
Perfect example is that the sperm sorting I was talking about before. If suddenly everyone is able to decide the gender of their babies, what will happen? We have to figure out through social science, we have to figure out through testing, through surveys, we have to find out, are people going to start selecting for more males than females? Is this going to create a lopsided gender ratio?
I would guess that if it were something that could happen in Western culture, people would choose for a male and a female child. And
Right.
so it would be evenly balanced. That people want most of the time, they're like, I'd like a boy and a girl. You know, it's like, especially in America, United States of America. It's like the white picket fence and a dog and a cat and an
And a
RV
boy and a girl.
and a
Yeah.
boy and a girl. We have our 2 kids, one's a boy, one's a girl. That's just the way, you know, that's the dream, you know. You're going to have a job and you're going to have the stuff, and it's a boy and girl in your RV and your boat and whatever. You're going to add things on in the 2-story house with red
So
roofs
in
and
that
whatever.
case, it's fine. Or even
Or you have China,
right,
where suddenly it's all males because
which
of
if that happens,
social factors.
that might actually work to our advantage because the population is growing so fast.
Right. This is how we beat China.
This is how we don't destroy the planet.
So,
Where did Justin go? What just
yeah, yeah, it's gonna end badly. It will. All technologies will be utilized to do harm at some point. No matter how positive or beneficial a technology or concept it is, somewhere, some place in the world, there's somebody who's only trying to figure out how to utilize it to do ill. That's always been true.
Right. That's always been true.
Yeah.
We'll be on Science Island when that happens, and you can come join us there. But otherwise, what are you going to do about it? You're going to use it for good.
Right. And if I were to create the ideal world, all science would be done within Science Island. And then we'd parse out bits of that technology to the rest of the world 50 years after we're kind of come up with it and know where it heads. That would be the thing. Is like,
so this is less of a Science Island and more of a castle with very high walls.
No, it's an ivory tower. Very high.
Yes, an ivory tower of sorts. You got it.
Beam firing out of it. Like, this is like, yeah, no, but I mean, to that point, the ideal scenario would be that you would create all of your technology. You would find out where it leads and where it goes and what the next generation of technology and what the next generation and the next generation of technology are before you would entrust it to humanity. Right? I mean, that's the only way you could say, okay, as far as we can tell, right? Like the invention of the hot air popcorn popper doesn't have a militarized side to it. We can now release this to the public.
You don't know that.
Right. And then some genius outside of Science Island goes, "Oh, I know exactly what to do with this."
Yeah, of course.
And then away it goes. But I think part of why of technology, which has always been a little bit weird to me, because I'm like, why isn't America hoarding all of these advancements, not sharing it with the world? My gosh, like we could be so much more prosperous if we just doled out bit by bit this stuff. And the reason that doesn't work, for one, you don't have an audience for the product you just created then. And the other one is you learn from the other science funding that goes on in the world. That sharing informs the science that we do to a great effect. So in order to progress science, you need to share it. You need to get other people who are funding science in other countries to participate in your research. And it just makes it for a stronger, healthier community.
It does.
The best scenario for doing away with worrying about evildoers in the world is to force everybody into a lab job somewhere where they have to go in and just do lab work for science all day. And that way, I mean, it's not ideal for everybody, but there can only really be one evil genius. The rest kind of have to put the pieces together for the innators at the factory and mail it to me. There's always going to be bad things in the world. Let's not be afraid. Because you can go backwards in time and be afraid of everything, right? There were people who were afraid of driving more than 20 miles an hour in a car.
Right.
Because they were afraid that it would leave the soul behind.
What?
Yeah. They were like, religious cultures. They're like, okay, it's okay to have a car, but keep it under 20, 25 miles an hour. Otherwise, you may accidentally leave your soul behind. It might fly out while you're
I think all these people in this generation, they just need to, stop using cell phones because cell phones are going to suck your soul out of your brain. They're going to just...
What? I can't hear you, though. What? My cell phone's what? It's going to make me more popular? Okay.
Well,
let me just Snapchat this conversation real quick.
Television will turn your brain to mush, which is true versus a good book. However, now it's evolved into the internet in which you can do a physics lecture with the click of a button and you can sit back and take it in, which you couldn't get from the television and might have been too hard to get through in a book. Right? It's like these things evolve in stages and steps. And there will be points at which things are mistreated or want to be abused or commercialized in the wrong way. I think we've done pretty good as a planet and a society of avoiding the pitfalls of abusing technology too much. Except guns. Except for that one, maybe. Strength says he thought it was because people thought they couldn't breathe at that speed. Those might be other people. When the first, I don't know where it was. It might not have been Iran. It was somewhere in the Middle East when the first car landed there. The people put like hay and feed offerings out in front of it because they thought the foreign donkey must be really hungry from the trip. Like people didn't quite know how to interact with the thing, with the new technology. It sometimes takes a little time.
Science is real. Science is real. Science is real. I like that They Might Be Giants album. It is real. It is real. It's working. You guys, this is our last show of 2017 and our last show of the 5 century.
It's true. I'm posting about that right now.
That's it. It's our last
episode
one.
is episode 600. It seems like just 100 episodes ago we were celebrating the 500th episode.
Oh,
that was a fun one. You guys came to my house.
Super duper fun.
You came to my house and we had champagne, and Blair and I wore dresses.
We did.
And we did a show, and that was very fun. That was awesome. So 600, we're going to be far apart, but it'll be a fun prediction show, and I think it would be fun. It was 600, so it's only 100 past the last big mark. So I wasn't really ready to do a big party or anything.
No, and we'll be in San Francisco soon.
We'll be in San
and it'll be
Francisco
1,000
soon.
before we know it anyway.
I think so. Only
right around the corner.
8 more years.
Well, unless we start doing 2, 3, 4, 5 episodes a week, and then we potentially could.
That makes me feel tired. Why don't we just do 750 next?
We could have a big 750 party.
3/4 of a century.
Yeah, we'll work at it. Something that I thought
in 3 years. Wait.
Yeah. And I have to share this number that I saw recently. I just want you guys to know in the
Go ahead, hit me. There's not a number I haven't seen before, so go ahead.
This might be a number that you've never seen before.
I've seen a lot of numbers.
I know you've seen a lot of numbers. Ooh, you log in. How did I do that? Oh, crap. I might not be able to log in and let you know. I'm gonna have to figure this out.
What happened? What?
Oh yeah, Ben, that's right.
I had to
Blair did
change- I
stream
had
live
to
from a
change a
bathtub.
login. Yeah.
Bathtub in a frilly dress. You got it.
Next time, I get the dress.
Okay.
I knew I should have written this down. I changed my
So
login.
hit me with
the
this
right
number.
things
Is
down.
it between 1 and a million?
No.
Is it between 1 million and 10 million?
Yes.
Narrowing it down.
No, I need to figure out my login, re-login.
Uh-huh.
I'm not going to do that right now. No, we have been, our podcast, according to Libsyn, has been downloaded over 8 million times.
Get out of town.
She did already. What town would you want her to move to now?
Get back in town.
And at some point I will actually get my login information so I can get you the accurate number. But TWIS has been downloaded by people around the world several million times.
That is the coolest.
That's pretty cool.
It's really cool.
I want that etched in gold.
Right? Like I'm kind of looking at the number and I'm like, okay, when we hit 10 million, I'm going to be like, boom. And maybe we are there. I don't know. It's over 8 million for sure. Yeah.
That's really cool.
We've been downloaded millions of times.
I don't even know what 8 million looks like.
Right? It's a lot. It's pretty awesome. People have downloaded us. They've listened to us. It's pretty awesome.
I'm impressed by us.
I am impressed
Well,
by our
by both of you.
listeners.
and our minions for putting up with us.
Thank you
Oh,
for
these
downloading us. Right, identity
believe I'm
for
here.
millions of
Oh.
times. Millions. Yes. I just want to say you did that download 500,000 K words. Did you download the entire back library, Hot Rod?
Several times.
Don't want to talk about it. That's
Serving
right.
science up like it's McDonald's. Yeah, Ben.
Gord has a suggestion for you. He says to picture 8 million, picture the number 8 and then 6 zeros trailing it off toward the right-hand side. That's how you should.
Not the left side.
No, not the left side. That would be the number 8.
What?
Good night, Identity 4. We'll see you next week.
How that work?
For all
That's
the
not how numbers work.
That's how numbers work. Yeah, that's exactly how numbers work.
Oh my god.
Let's talk about number theory.
I have a question.
I need to
Next-
buy my ticket to San Francisco.
Yeah, you should definitely do that.
That's what I need.
Um,
I need to figure out how I'm going to San
Oh, me
Francisco.
too. I haven't even thought about that.
But next week, we're doing predictions.
Yes.
Are we bringing any stories that aren't related to our predictions from last year?
No, you don't have to find any new stories. I mean, you can if you want to. We can put stuff
Okay.
maybe in like the quick bring up.
But I feel like we're supposed to be saving the really good stories for Sketchfest, right? Isn't that the deal?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So next week we're gonna do.
So yeah, next week it's just going to be a filler show. No good content.
Justin,
No, this is not
Look,
true.
no,
We're gonna have
but
an amazing
you can't bring
interview.
stories. Okay. But, oh yeah, we have a great interview, and you can bring a story. Like here's the story you can bring. Hang on, sorry. Here's the story you can bring. You made. I know I'm talking over you, but because I got to fix what she said. You can bring a story if you predicted something and then that happened
in
you would
2016. Yeah.
yeah, you'd obviously want to bring
Yeah.
the story
you're
that
right.
confirmed your prediction.
Right, and they're not all stories that we actually reported on in the show. Some of
don't
them
have to
are,
be.
some of them will be things that happened that we didn't actually report on in the show, but is related to a prediction that we made.
Right.
And then
if
we're
you're-
making predictions for next year. So
Exactly. So
Okay.
we don't have to bring current stories, but
Yeah.
if you can find something, even if you really have to stretch it to make it connect to your prediction,
Yeah.
those are worth bringing. Sorry, I've got-
They are
Indeed.
worth
Mute myself.
bringing.
indeed,
I think they are.
I'm excited
Yeah,
for
to
that.
stretch your predictions. Yeah. So if you have something to bring for your prediction itself, yeah. And then since we have the interview, we can also at the very, very end of the show do our quick stories if we feel like there's a few fun things that we just wanted to throw in just for beeps and giggles.
Okay. Eeps?
I said beeps and giggles.
Oh, beeps.
Beeps and giggles because I
I
can't,
like
I'm-
eeps better.
because I'm trying to not say bad words.
Okay, beeps. I like
the phrase-
eeps.
The phrase involves a bad word.
Because like when you get really
That's
excited,
true.
you go eep. Eep.
I do go like that sometimes. So yeah, eeps and giggles.
Eep.
Eeps and giggles.
Eep.
Yeah, and from Connecticut.
Eep.
Now is the time for the minions to take their bets. Go back to the prediction show from last year and figure out who did better at predicting. Place your bets. Place your bets. Who won the year for predicting? Right.
Well, there's still several days for you guys to prove one of my predictions correct, and that is that I would sell out of calendars. Yeah, I know. So help
your
me
money's
make
on
that
Blair.
prediction accurate.
Yeah. Your money's on Blair. You got the big money on Blair to win the predictions. This is how you
Yeah.
accomplish
Who doesn't
this.
want this mammoth? You guys,
Actually, I do. I want that.
too
Can I have
bad
I need to
it's
send
framed
Justin
in my
one.
parents' house. But
that? Oh, that's the
but you
best
can
one
take
ever.
the calendar, you see, and when the year's over,
yeah.
you can then frame.
Cut it out and frame it. That is, I gotta say, that is the best one ever. That's my favorite. Of
It
all
might
time.
be my favorite.
That's my kookaburra.
Kookaburra sits in the old gum tree.
It's my favorite. by far.
That's your favorite?
And all the gumdrops he can see. Laugh, kookaburra, laugh, kookaburra, save some gum for me.
Which one's my my Hanukkah present? Which one is it?
It's arriving tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
But
I'm
can I
gonna
see
tell
it?
you.
I want to see it.
will
Can I see it?
love you.
You and Kiki both. Your Hanukkah presents are arriving tomorrow.
Gonna get my Hanukkah
FedEx
I have
says.
one.
tomorrow.
I have one for you.
Okay, you can give it to
as
me.
well.
Tomorrow.
But I'm gonna just wait and like hand it to you.
Then
So let's
I
see.
count how many
Um.
calendars.
So
Solemn.
Justin, yours is currently, as of this morning at 9:11 a.m., at a local FedEx facility in Sacramento, California. It is scheduled for delivery tomorrow by 4:30.
I gotta learn how to sell things better. Oh,
Kiki,
stop.
your present is at a local FedEx facility in Portland, Oregon, as of 11:53 a.m. this morning.
It's gonna
and
be here
Its
tomorrow.
scheduled delivery is tomorrow by 4:30 p.m.
Why didn't they just bring it to the mailbox
Yeah.
today?
I don't know.
Can I show you what I got? The two of you.
Thanks,
Let's
Tesla.
see.
I like that.
Yes.
Can I show you? Hang on. I'll be right
What'd you
back.
get? What'd you get? I got a jacket and a pair of boots that didn't really fit, and a scarf, and a makeup box. And what else did I get for Christmas? Box of chocolate to remind me about life. Life is like a box of chocolates.
Yes, FedEx is Santa. FedEx is a
FedEx.
code name.
Codename Santa.
Code name FedEx.
What's that? Banana
What is it? It's
slugs?
banana slugs.
It's banana
slug
slugs
fest.
that you can apparently put anywhere, and a banana slug stay there.
Ooh.
They're not real though.
No, I didn't get you real live banana. I wouldn't try to keep anything alive. But these, I haven't opened it, so I don't know exactly how they work. But they seem like they're slimy, and they stick to
Ew.
things. So yeah, have fun with it. I honestly thought they were magnets when I bought them. But as sort of as I've read the back panel, it seems like this might not be. If your sticky slugs get dirty, you can clean them with water and mild soap, or by gently pressing a strip of adhesive tape against them, and then they'll stick again. So whatever they are, they're not magnets. Just stick to things.
Oh, what present got Kai the most excited? He's very excited about his 3-dimensional quixels that he got.
Was that like Minecraft in real life?
Yeah, so no, quixels they're these funny little plastic things that you can create little, it's like pixel art. They're like these little
Huh.
plastic cubes that you put next to each other and then use water and it kind of melts the plastic and the plastic self-adheses to itself, and so you can create these little pieces of art. But now we have this device that allows you to do it in layers. So you can make 3-dimensional structures out of it. And so he got really excited about that, and we made one of those yesterday. And then what was the other thing? Oh, and we also he got, what's the name of the robots?
Transformers,
No,
robots in
no,
disguise.
no. Cubots. I think that's what
Oh.
it's called. Cubots? Cubelets. That's what he got. He got a Cubelets robot construction kit. And so it's really cool. There's no programming involved. Each cube has a different function. And so you put the different cubes together and you can make robots that do things. Like there are cubes that have wheels on them. So you can make a rolling robot because you can put, there's another cube that has a light sensor so that it senses light and goes toward light. Or there's another one that, what's the other? There are a bunch of different modules that you put together, and then there's an inverse cube. So say you've got the cube that senses light, you can put an inverse cube next to it, and so instead of rolling toward the light, it stops and moves away from the light. And so you basically put the cubes together in different conformations to create different kinds of robots.
They're little vampire robots, like the light.
Blah.
Yeah,
Blah.
yeah, it's fun. We've had a lot of fun with that one. He really liked that one. He really, really liked that one. And then, his yokai watch.
What is that? What words are those?
Yokai is this funny Japanese cartoon that basically is to sell toys.
Okay.
Really likes it's very Japanese anime. It's very quirky and very weird. Like it's funny. Strange characters like the man-faced dog. Like it's this, so yokai are in the mythology of the cartoon. Yokai are these demons or spirits that go around and usually they mess with stuff and like make people do weird things and not do things they would normally do, or make things be messed up. And so this guy lost his job and wandered around out of his mind after he lost his job. And somehow a dog came up to him. And while that dog came up to him, a pile of wood fell on the two of them. And because they both died at the same time, they turned into a yokai that's this man-faced dog. And so it's funny because then the episode goes around and they've got this whiny, I used to be a human and now I'm just a man-faced dog. It's really funny.
Very strange.
There's
So-
a lot
Sounds
of
like nightmares.
really strange stuff going on, and it's quirky. It's funny. Anyway,
So my
Kyle loves
oldest
it.
just wanted money, so that
I
he
need
could.
money,
He's building a supercomputer that he hopes to take over the world with.
Awesome.
Okay.
That's cool.
So he's been collecting cash from all relatives. so he
But
can-
why
he can-
fear technology?
Exactly. So he can buy and build this supercomputer. Satz is my next oldest. She wanted dolls,
Look at
and
those
these dolls are pretty. This is still in the box. I can't open it for. But these are the
I'm on Netflix.
the-
What?
MC Square dolls.
Ooh.
So each doll comes with a science experiment.
Ooh.
Yeah, so I got her like a half dozen of these. Like this one is how to make your own puffy paint. This one is how to make your own hanging garden. There's one where you use an apple as a conductor and this little panda speaker. It's totally
Nice.
cute. But once the apple is in there, it completes the circuit, and then your music will play through the speaker. There's one for foaming bath fizz, and then there's some other thing, right? And then the youngest just wanted this was like months ago. She wants a pink princess scooter with Ariel on it.
Okay, did you manage to get that?
I found it almost like right away, and I bought it, and so that was like the first gift I got because like I found this thing, and in a place that like I'm like I don't even know like if she's seen this, but this is what she created, and then to sort of offset all the pink and the princessiness of it, the other thing she mentioned is you wanted light up shoes, like shoes when you walk on it. So I
Yeah.
got her the whatever the new R2D2 is. I don't know what its name is.
BB-8?
The BB-8 light up
BB-8.
shoes.
Oh,
And,
I love
and
BB-8.
Darth Vader, like knee pads and elbow pads.
Yeah.
Got a little bit of the dark side going there too.
That's good.
And then her mom got her a super cute helmet.
We
Wow.
also did get some science stuff for Kai. We got him a little microscope kit. We had a bunch of slides with different tissue preparations on them.
Oh yeah.
And we found online, a place that I think it's probably through Amazon or something, but basically like a lab coat. So we got him a white lab coat. And we also got him a little kitchen chemistry set so we can do little chemistry experiments and stuff.
Nice.
I'm so excited. We get to do science.
Yeah.
This is going to be after
Yeah, we've
school
got that.
activities. It's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, I did that last year. I'm probably a terrible parent. I have very bad follow through. We have the digital microscope with the screen, so nobody like we can all see it together.
Yeah.
But
Hard,
it's
though.
like in a box. Not really. And we got this slides, and they got into it at first, and they were like, nah. And then there's this kit you can get, which is like sort of like a Clue solve the mystery forensic kit, where you've got like different carpet fibers and different samples from the crime scene, and then you compare them to other samples under the microscope and see which ones match to find the killer. It's like this whole thing, but they didn't really. They got the more important things to do.
More important than looking at a microscope. What?
Yeah, right.
My
Yeah.
child's still young enough. I can make him do what I want.
Oh,
I'm kidding.
They
Not
might be
really.
electricians. Like they've got the Snap Electronics. They got one of those big kits last time around. And every once in a while, they get dragged out and they'll make like a little AM radio or something that makes beepy sounds or flashing lights and stuff. It's pretty cool. It's really easy because everything just snaps into place. You just have to follow the
Yeah.
instructions on how.
Easy is good for parents. Where did Justin go? He's like,
I don't
gotta
know.
go
He
right
just
now.
disappeared.
It's like I gotta go. Following instructions, a little hard.
If you like, I will leave the audio and video rolling.
No,
next
don't need
nose
that.
blow. If that's what you're asking, it's like, please, Justin, do not leave us, even though you're clearing out your snot locker.
So
Yeah.
this year, I got everyone in my office for the holidays inspirational unicorns.
Oh my
So,
goodness.
I I bought off of this favorite website that I found. Now one of my favorite websites.
It's favorite.
Right. A bag of defective unicorns, parentheses, still magical. So actually, let me read you the item description. I'm going to have to show it to you or read it to you. The item description for the defective unicorns. But I decided to make them inspirational unicorns. So I looked up inspirational quotes and I wrote them on the unicorns in Sharpie. So this is the product description. Aren't we all defective and magical? When we got in a shipment of defective unicorns, there were some cruel people here who wanted us to throw them away. We refused. We think each one is valuable and special in its own way. They just need you to take care of them. There will be approximately 8 unicorns and pieces of unicorns in each bag. Some can stand, some can't. Some have lost their horns. Some are missing a leg or two. The one thing we know for sure, each one is just as magical as it has always been. Looking for forever homes, no returns.
That's
so
funny.
so yes, I gave everyone inspirational unicorns. One of them, my favorite one, had a Leslie Knope quote on it. Which was, here we go. What I hear when I'm being yelled at is people caring really loudly at me. And then the one that I ended up taking home with me was, if you can't find a good role model, be one.
Oh, that's actually not bad.
Yeah. And then another one I really liked was, stop looking back. You're not going that way.
That's a good one.
I liked that one a lot. That one, actually, that might have been my favorite. It's so simple, but it's such a good point. Oh, right. Yeah, I can't redo those things. So let's just
keep moving forward.
Good.
Yeah.
It's also like, that's kind of like biting a little bit into wherever I go, there I am.
Right. But it's also important to remember to like reflect on past experiences because you want to learn from things that happen to you.
No, don't look back. You're not going to do that again. Everything's going to be different going forward.
But
different
you can
scenario.
still
Yes,
grow.
I'm making fun of it. I'm actually mocking the advice. I'm saying, yeah, no need to learn from the past. I obviously did everything right. I'll just go forward. I'll run into new stuff. It'll end better next time.
Anyway, my inspirational unicorns.
I like them. I wish I had known about that. I did have a few little unicorns that I had. I just had this wonderful set of unicorns that I was keeping in the box because I liked the unicorns in their box. And then the children found it, and then the unicorns were broken. So the unicorns got thrown away.
But they were still magical.
They went somewhere else. Maybe
somewhere else
with
very
you
magical.
or your people.
Probably Michigan.
Yeah.
I've been using the word unicorn just to describe anything that's like kind of rare. Or if it's something's very common, I say it's not a unicorn.
It's not a unicorn.
Like if that's actually pretty a common thing, it's not a unicorn.
So I was called a unicorn all the time. This is getting personal now. In the dating circuit in San Francisco, when I would meet guys, they would call me a unicorn because I was born and raised San Franciscan.
Oh, well, yeah, that makes you a unicorn.
Yep, that makes you a San Francisco unicorn.
I know nothing but born and raised in San Franciscans.
Because you were born and raised in San Francisco.
Yeah. So it's not weird to me at all. But every time, oh, you're a unicorn.
Okay, so that's the thing. I didn't like, because somebody, this got brought up because the former principal of our kids, one of my kids' elementary school, made everybody call him doctor, not principal, whatever. but doctor whatever. And somebody just and it was like always annoyed me. I was like, everything I needed to know about this guy, I learned before I met him because he made everybody call him doctor whatever. And somebody said to me, it's like, yeah, especially in a town like Davis, which has such a high per capita of like PhDs. Like, you're not a unicorn in this town. Like, wherever he was from, maybe it's a unicorn to be a doctor, but it's not in this town. And the fact that you make people call you doctor, because you could be made to call everybody doctor in this town. Like, everybody you talk to would be doctor, 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 doctor. Like, would be the scene, right? And like that was like a year or two ago. And ever since I've been like, yeah, if something's unique, it's a unicorn. If it's not, it's really not.
I think I've hit my limit.
Yeah.
I gotta go. It's 11.
Can you take it there one more time? Say goodnight, Kiki.
You know what? We took it to 11.
We did take it to 11.
We did. We turned it up.
Good night,
to 11.
Kiki.
Good night, Kiki. Good night, Justin. Good night,
Kiki.
Blair.
Good night.
Good night, Minions.
Buy calendars, everyone.
Good night,
Please.
Minions. Sleep well.
Please.
Make it so I can make 2018 calendars. Buy a calendar.
Blair enjoys it. It's fun. And they're
Yeah.
good calendars.
They're
Very
awesome
helpful.
calendars.
Very helpful to you. Thanks, you guys. We'll see you next week.
I'll see you in 2017.
That's right. I can't just say next week.
I'll see you next
I'll see you in the next year that I forget what year it is and don't write it on checks. I mean, who uses checks anyway?
What is
See you
the
next
check?
year.
Actually,